Chapter 1302. This isn't the thunder tribulation created by Emperor Nuwa and Emperor Shi. Their marks of the Grand Tao aren't communicating with me at all. They might not even know that I'm breaking through. Jiang Tian's eyes widened and his face changed color. Ah! A second later, Jiang Tian realized what was going on and heaved a sigh. Earth used to be the marks of the Grand Tao left by Emperor Nuwa and Emperor Shi, representing the laws of heaven and earth. If I form the golden core deep underground, I can completely avoid their detection. However, a divine-grade golden core is something that can shake the universe. This lightning doesn't come from Earth, but from the depths of the universe. Cultivators were born in heaven and earth. Their cultivation was to seize the fortune of heaven and earth, to fight against heaven and earth. Of course, heaven and earth wouldn't let you surpass it, or it would send you a tribulation. Every heaven and earth had a different Grand Tao consciousness that controlled the laws of heaven and earth. However, only a divine-grade golden core could trigger the Grand Tao consciousness of the universe. When a superior-grade golden core was formed, everything within a 100-mile radius would shake and there would be 4 thunder tribulations. When a divine-grade golden core was shaken, there would be 9 thunder tribulations. When a divine-grade golden core was shaken, there would be a sea of thunder, clouds, and mountains. However, Jiang Tian's golden core was a divine-grade golden core. The sea of thunder was vast, the clouds covered the sky and the mountains were 100 miles long. This was the result of Jiang Tian breaking through deep underground, using the crust as a shield and endless lava as a cover. It seemed that the Grand Tao consciousness of the universe wasn't sure either. Otherwise, the scale would be even more terrifying. Not even a true god from the divine realm can stop me. It's not like I haven't killed a true god before, let alone a mere divine tribulation. Jiang Tian looked up. His eyes were as sharp as a peerless heavenly blade, as if they could pierce through the earth and tear the sky apart. Jiang Tian knew that when the clouds, mountains, and sea of thunder were intertwined, the dragon-shaped lightning would strike. However, Jiang Tian had lived 2 lifetimes and had experienced a long and bumpy road of cultivation. When had he ever been afraid? Since Jiang Tian wanted to condense his chaos divine-grade golden core, he had to take a gamble. Jiang Tian was willing to give it a try in order to condense a divine-grade golden core. Following Jiang Tian's low growl, the Thunder Slaughter False core also shattered, turning into a bolt of lightning that shot into the Thunder Slaughter False core and disappeared. Break again. In the end, even the most tenacious core of the Sea Calming Pearl turned into endless ice shards and was completely swallowed by the dark gold core. Boom! Deep underground, endless thunder rumbled as if it was going to tear the earth's crust apart. Lei Long seemed to have sensed Jiang Tian's intention of condensing a supreme gold core. His thunder eyes flashed fiercely as he roared crazily. Those thunder dragons were all different. Some of them would only appear when they reached the nascent soul level or the soul formation level. There were Tao-cutting thunder, 9 heavens thunder, demon-killing light thunder, essence magnetic mines. A total of 81 thunder dragons were shuttling between the thunder mountains, roaring in the thunder ocean and roaring in the thunder clouds. Each of the thunder dragons carried an extremely terrifying energy. They could tear the earth apart, flatten mountains, and blow up everything within a 100-mile range. Not even the tribulation of a nascent soul overlord is this terrifying. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon and the others were so frightened that they couldn't even stand still. That destructive energy was too terrifying. Even Ta Kong and Lian Sheng, who had already reached the nascent soul level, couldn't withstand it and staggered backward. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon was so frightened that he turned into a dragon and knelt on the ground. But nobody laughed at him. That was the power of heaven. Not many people in the universe could resist it. When they formed the golden core, the lightning bolts were as thick as chopsticks and as thick as a child's arm. Normally, they would have 19 thunder tribulations, which weren't even comparable to a thunder dragon's claw. And yet, Jiang Tian was facing 81 thunder dragons right then. The 4 of them panicked. Only Jiang Tian sat in the deity-pregnant placenta with his legs crossed. He looked up at the sky with a calm face. Bring it on. The chaotic golden core is still the most powerful golden core. I don't believe you can destroy it. Jiang Tian's eyes were as sharp as a heavenly sword. Rumble. Jiang Tian's mind was firm, and his mind was as firm as a rock. Inside his dantian, the darkest golden core was spinning like a vortex, compressing a lot of energy and returning it to its original state. Finally, the thunder dragons were enraged. They roared to the sky and waved their giant claws. The terrifying thunder tribulations were about to strike. But then, the chaotic fake core is formed. Jiang Tian shouted in a low voice. Boom! Strands of dark yellow chaotic aura gushed out from Jiang Tian's trembling and rumbling dantian. It was as if the heavens and the earth had just been split apart, and it formed a vast sea of stars. Then, a spinning divine disk appeared in Jiang Tian's dantian. From the center of the disk, there were 9 auras that spun outwards. They were like 9 dragons circling a pearl or looking down at the Milky Way. If one took a closer look, they would find that each aura was made up of dazzling or dim stars, just like stars and planets. The entire divine disk was like the Milky Way or even the Milky Way. It was so bright, so vast, so deep and so brilliant. Could. The chaotic fake core has turned into a divine disk. Jiang Tian rejoiced, and even went wild with joy. With the help of the time array disk and the spirit chi of planet destruction, his cultivation speed had increased by 10 times. He had successfully formed the chaotic golden core before the thunder tribulations and had the ability to resist them. Why is the shape of the fake core so strange? It looks like a galaxy. The 4 old monsters' eyes shone with a strange light. They couldn't believe it. That's what a divine-grade golden core looks like. Who says a golden core has to be round? Different races and bloodlines will give birth to different golden cores. An unprecedentedly brilliant smile appeared on Jiang Tian's face. He was delighted, and there was even a trace of pride in his eyes. At this moment, a lightning dragon finally descended, flashing with a terrifying murderous intent. Master, watch out! The 4 old monsters yelled, but they didn't dare to go forward, because they couldn't resist at all. They would only be reduced to ashes in a second. I can use you to increase my thunder power. Jiang Tian stood up, his eyes sharp as he faced Lei Long Boom. This lightning dragon directly enveloped Jiang Tian, but in the next moment, it disappeared without a trace, entering Jiang Tian's divine disk. However, Jiang Tian's face didn't change. His shining divine body didn't even tremble. He resisted the thunder dragon with his body without any Dharma artifacts or Dharma arts. That's extremely terrifying. The true dragon and the other 3 old monsters were shocked to the point of numbness. They could not believe it. In the ruins of deities and the multidimensional worlds, cultivators would either use secret divine powers or have top Dharma treasures given by their families to break through to the golden core level. How could he be like Jiang Tian, who used his physical body to face the attack head-on? It was simple, crude, and simply inconceivable. Besides, what Jiang Tian was facing wasn't a normal golden core thunder tribulation. It was a terrifying thunder tribulation that only appeared when cultivators tried to break through to the nascent soul level or even the soul formation level. Boom! Arg! However, before they could calm down from their shock, another lightning dragon roared and arrived. It was extremely terrifying. There were a total of 9 lightning dragons of various colors and shapes. Each one was more majestic than the last, and each one was more dazzling than the last. They were 12 meters thick, and they were like a giant thunder pillar that could penetrate the earth. They were as powerful as an attack from a nascent soul heavenly lord. But still, they couldn't hurt Jiang Tian at all. The 9 thunder dragons attacked. Jiang Tian's eyes were calm. His dantian was damaged, and even his white robe was dusty. He apparently still had energy left. Meanwhile, the sea of thunder in the sky trembled as if it were stunned by Jiang Tian's power. Is Master the reincarnation of an ancient true god? Or a grand cultivator from the universe? The 4 old monsters were shocked, and they looked at Jiang Tian as if he were a god. 9 thunder dragons could even turn a peak stage nascent soul grand heavenly lord into ashes, but they couldn't hurt Jiang Tian at all. Come on. Jiang Tian's thick black hair fluttered in the wind and his divine body let out thousands of rays of light. He looked at the vast sea of thunder in the sky and his eyes were as sharp as knives. His divine disk had been refined by the thunder tribulation and was about to become a golden core cultivator. Arg! The remaining thunder dragons roared. Each of them was 1,000 meters long and they flashed across the sky with terrifying power. Dozens of thunder dragons intertwined with each other and turned into a 1,000-foot thunder mountain in the end. Boom! This time, Jiang Tian was finally injured. His clothes were torn and many parts of his body exploded. Blood splashed in the air and his jade-like bones were exposed. Who can stand this? Watch out! The four old monsters' hearts twitched, but they soon saw something shocking. Jiang Tian's muscles and blood that were scattered in the air like sparkling stars drifted away, streaking across the deep thunder mountains and flying back to his bones, quickly reorganizing and repairing them. Meanwhile, the parts that had been repaired shone even more brilliantly, and the divine radiance was even more resplendent. They emitted an eternal aura of indestructibility, as if nothing in the world could destroy them. Is this the power of the chaotic divine body? What a terrifying recovery ability! Zhenlong and the others were shocked and their eyes almost popped out. Right then, Jiang Tian's body was releasing an indestructible energy, which was similar to a golden core cultivator, or even more terrifying. Zhenlong and the others were startled. It was as if every inch of Jiang Tian's body was made up of indestructible gold cores. That was insane. Chapter 1303. But they didn't know. Jiang Tian hadn't perfected most of his 9 divine bodies and some of them were only at the initial success level, such as the darkness divine body. So, his chaotic divine body was only half a step away from the initial success level, but it might reach the initial success level after being refined by the thunder dragons. They thought that after Jiang Tian humiliated the lightning dragons like that, the lightning dragons would be enraged. They would swarm over and tear Jiang Tian into pieces and turn him into ashes. How is that possible? They're scared, but they were shocked to see that. Those lightning dragons actually showed signs of fear. They retreated step by step, like little white rabbits facing a ferocious tiger. What shocked them even more was that, oh no, they're running. Jiang Tian stepped out of the pregnant deity placenta and turned into a beam of golden light, flashing towards the thunder dragons without hesitation. Boom! Jiang Tian threw a punch. Immediately, magma flowed out, setting off enormous waves that overflowed into the heavens. The ground trembled, turning into primal chaos. Just one punch. It directly blew up a lightning dragon that was trying to escape in midair. The magma and earth crust around it were blown hundreds of miles deep. The power of a single punch is so terrifying. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon and the others finally realized how powerful Jiang Tian was after his breakthrough. Every true dragon was as powerful as a nascent soul cultivator, but they couldn't withstand Jiang Tian's attacks at all. The other lightning dragons seemed to have intelligence. They let out terrified cries and scattered in all directions. They drilled into the magma crust in all directions, wishing they could grow a few more legs. Don't run. Jiang Tian struck out with both his fists and palms, using his physical body to fight against the lightning dragon. He even charged forward without any technique. This was a shocking chaotic battle. Jiang Tian was like a ferocious tiger that had walked into a flock of sheep, completely unrestrained. With a punch and a kick, the lightning mountain collapsed, the lightning sea churned, and the lightning dragon collapsed amidst mournful cries. Nothing could stop him. Jiang Tian was unrestrained and carefree. His aura rose steadily, pushing the lava 100 miles away. He didn't even try to dodge the attacks. His bones were broken and his muscles were quickly repaired. He had the most powerful chaotic divine body in the universe, and it was indestructible. Even though it was only at the initial success level, he could quickly recover as long as his divine soul wasn't destroyed. Only soul formation and void return overlords could hurt him to a certain extent. Normal nascent soul cultivators couldn't hurt him. But even if his body was destroyed, Jiang Tian could still use a secret art to quickly recover his body. That's simple and violent? Simple and violent. He's asking for it, but the thunder tribulation doesn't dare to strike him. Master's power is terrifying. The old monsters were all dumbfounded. At this moment, the true dragon had already transformed into human form. It no longer had any fear, and it was all smiles. However, after Jiang Tian destroyed a dozen thunder dragons, the rest of them ran away and went deep into the lava. Then, the thunder mountains, thunder clouds and thunder seas also turned into countless tiny thunderbolts and disappeared. Damn it. They left just like that? Jiang Tian scratched his head. I've only gone through half of the thunder tribulation. I haven't had enough yet. Can't we finish what we started? Haven't had enough. The 4 old monsters fell to the ground with a plop, collapsing on the ground. Although my chaotic divine body is only at the initial success level, I've formed a divine-grade chaotic golden core after all. However, Jiang Tian was still very satisfied, and he even secretly let out a long sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. There were 9 galaxies on the golden core in the shape of a divine disk. They had different shapes because of the different brightness of the stars. The first galaxy was the shadow of the whirling divine tree. The other was the divine general of Gongjin. There were also the Xianshui azure dragon and the thick earth dragon. Some were bright and solid, while others were slightly illusory and dim. This was the result of Jiang Tian's divine bodies not advancing at the same time. The higher the level of the divine body, the brighter and brighter the galaxy. However, each galaxy represented a world that had just been created. Right then, Jiang Tian felt that the energy in his dantian was surging endlessly. It was more than 100 times more powerful than before. Jiang Tian was sure that if the nascent soul fiend Gu who was in front of him, he wouldn't need to play tricks and sneak attacks. He could smash him into pieces with one slap. The chaotic divine body is said to be all-inclusive and omnipotent. I've finally succeeded today. It's indeed so. Jiang Tian checked and was suddenly stunned. In the end, his eyes glittered and he smiled happily. It turned out, other than the 9 main galaxies on the divine disk, there were many smaller galaxies that hadn't formed yet. They were waiting for Jiang Tian to leave more shadows with his divine powers and divine powers. This meant that apart from the power of the 9 divine bodies, Jiang Tian could also create new divine bodies and deity bodies, which would allow him to have billions of clones, endless divine powers, and be indestructible forever. One thing was certain. He was extremely lucky in his previous life and had the support of the immortal emperor and a large sect. Even with the support of endless resources, he had only formed a sacred-grade golden core, which wasn't even a deity-grade one. Even Jiang Tian wouldn't have dared to dream of having a divine-grade golden core in his previous life. It was far more powerful than his foundation in his previous life. Even though Earth was known as a barren, dead planet, Jiang Tian was extremely lucky. He used it as a foundation and dominated many worlds. He had many unique conditions, which were much better than some cultivation planets. He had a lot of resources, including deity materials and divine materials. He also had the spirit chi left by planet extermination and the deity pregnant placenta. Most importantly, he had the time acceleration array disk, which was why he was able to continue cultivating under such harsh conditions. All these factors combined to create a good environment, which not even the peerless sex and immortal sacred grounds at the center of the universe had. At the moment, Jiang Tian felt like a nouveau riche in the cultivation universe. He had a big gold chain, a small gold watch, and 3 small barbecues a day. Even the so-called divine princes and divine fetuses couldn't compare to him. Unfortunately, I can't take planet extermination with me. After cultivating for a few more days in the deity pregnant placenta, Jiang Tian completely absorbed the spirit chi left by planet extermination and formed the divine golden core. True Dragon and Mingi also reached the nascent soul level. Jiang Tian finally decided to end his seclusion. Master, the time array disk can still be used. Why don't you cultivate for a while longer? Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon suggested respectfully. I'm not cultivating anymore. Jiang Tian stood up and shook off the 13 umbilical cords. He waved his hand and said, "There's not much spirit chi left. It's too slow. Besides, it's time to clean up the multidimensional worlds." He looked up at the sky with viciousness in his eyes. His eyes seemed to be able to see through the thick crust of the earth and into the sky. He saw many shining multidimensional worlds. Jiang Tian returned safely. He finally became a golden core cultivator and his power surged. Qinya, the people of the Jiang family, and many disciples were relieved. They were overjoyed, and the whole sect was overjoyed. That night, after coaxing his daughter to sleep, Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing walked around the garden in the dojo. They were bathed in the moonlight and the atmosphere was very warm. It was late at night and the moon was hanging in the sky. Spirit chi gently enveloped the entire dojo like a thin layer of milk. It was very peaceful there. Streams of clear spiritual spring water gurgled over the clean stones, making pleasant tinkling sounds. A gentle breeze blew, and the orchids swayed along the path, emitting a tempting fragrance. In the pool, the purple gold true dragon leaned against a huge rock and slept, snoring softly. Beside it, many white cranes slept with their necks crossed. This place was peaceful and tranquil, making people feel that the years were peaceful and tranquil. "It's good that you can come back safely." Zhao Xueqing was like a little girl, holding Jiang Tian's arm. She had bright eyes and white teeth, and her smile was very warm. "I've made you worry." Jiang Tian gently stroked her hair and said in a gentle voice. Her face was also a little pale. Without Jiang Tian, she had to make all the decisions. She had to work hard for the sect and the Myth Alliance. She also had to take care of her child. "It's not hard at all. This is the path you've chosen. I'm your woman, so I naturally have to support you." Zhao Xueqing smiled. Her eyes were bright and gentle, but they were also very determined. She had always been so righteous and broad. She tried her best to keep up with Jiang Tian's footsteps. From the day she set foot on the path of cultivation, she didn't want to be a burden to Jiang Tian. Instead, she guarded the rear for Jiang Tian and acted as Jiang Tian's right-hand man. Jiang Tian smiled gently and walked with her through the cobblestone path and through the pavilions. It was very warm under the moonlight. "It's so beautiful here. I hope we can be together forever. I really hope we can walk quietly like this forever." Zhao Xueqing glanced at the surrounding scenery and finally looked up at the bright moon in the sky. "Of course we will always be like this. Are you still worried that I'll have multiple wives?" Jiang Tian smiled. "I know your feelings for me will never change. I'm talking about the overall situation of the ruins of immortality and earth." Zhao Xueqing shook her head gently, but there was a deep sadness between her brows that couldn't be dispelled. "After giving birth to my daughter, I seem to have a lot of ties, worries, and worries. Before, I was really not afraid of death or any threats. In order to defeat my opponent, I could bet everyone's lives." Her eyes were slightly red, but there was deep affection and love in them. She said in a trembling voice, "But now, I'm always thinking about what will happen to Earth if the ruins of immortality invade one day. What will happen to our baby? Will she be hungry? Will she be frightened by the artillery fire? Will she be homeless?" Jiang Tian gently held her in his arms, kissed her forehead, and firmly said, "Don't worry. As long as I'm here, our daughter will be fine. You'll be fine too. The entire earth will be fine. After all, I'm now a golden core cultivator. Even nascent soul cultivators are no match for me. After this chat, how can I let others sleep beside me? Most of the dimensional worlds have become the subordinates of the ruins of immortality. How can I let them go? I need to wipe them out and leave no one alive." Jiang Tian immediately put the sweeping of the dimensional worlds on the agenda. Chapter 1304. Moreover, Zhang Qianlei has been in the Qi world for so long without any news. This is not in line with his character. I have a bad feeling about this. Jiang Tian made up his mind to go to the Qi world through the Star world to look for Zhang Qianlei. 1,000 years ago, Heavenly Star was originally connected to the Kanglan and Chiyi dimensional worlds by teleportation arrays, which could break the space barrier. However, when the immortal ruins invaded 1,000 years ago, the Heavenly God Sect Master slashed out the One Sword Valley, destroying many arrays. However, the array base and basic structure were still there. When Jiang Tian left Heavenly Star, he had drawn a repair book and asked Bai Zhe, Master Kunling, Yuan Zihua, and others to repair many damaged arrays. Now, more than 2 years had passed, and they should have made some progress. The teleportation array should be able to reach the Chiyi world and Kanglan world. If it was 2 years ago, Jiang Tian would have to be careful and meticulous when going to a dimensional world like Heavenly Star. But now, Jiang Tian's cultivation strength was no longer the same as before. He had condensed the golden core and had the strength to fight against a nascent soul realm master. If he went to these dimensional worlds again, Jiang Tian would be like a tiger and lion patrolling a flock of sheep. He would not take it seriously. He said goodbye to his wife and children and asked Ta Kong, Ming He, and many other masters to guard Earth. Jiang Tian only took Patriarch True Dragon and the big black dog Old Dragon directly to Malai and stepped on the teleportation array of the Heavenly Valley. Heavenly Star Domain. Outside Qingyang Town, the ancient teleportation array in the wilderness suddenly flashed with a dazzling golden light. A handsome young man with black hair and black eyes in a white robe slowly stepped out of the teleportation array. His face was calm and indifferent. Behind him, there was a hunchbacked old man in a green cloth robe and a black felt hat. He was dressed like a servant, and there was a big black dog that was smooth and strong. The spirit chi here seems to be several times richer than before. It is comparable to the recovered Earth. The geomagnetic gravity is also stable. Jiang Tian scanned the surroundings with his divine sense and revealed a hint of joy. Looks like Bai Zhe and the others have done well. They've already repaired most of the damaged formations. It seems to be at the level of a level 3-dimensional world. The True Dragon Patriarch also sighed. Back then, he was the leader of the Dragon Gate. Star World was still under his rule. He had been here many times. Now that he compared it, he could feel the obvious difference. Let's go to Qingyang Town and have a look. Jiang Tian rolled up his sleeves and took a step into the air. Thunder appeared in the void and exploded on the horizon. He crossed dozens of miles and rushed towards Qingyang Town. This was the first place he had set foot in the Heavenly Star realm. Here, he met the siblings Qiao Yingluo and Qiao Beishan. Then he went to Jade Well Peak, which led to a series of grudges and disputes. He only left after killing Li Longyuan and becoming the master of this world. However, along the way, Jiang Tian's face gradually became gloomy and there was a hint of suspicion in his eyes. Wherever they passed, traces of battle could be seen everywhere. There were scraps of sabers and swords that extended for more than 10 kilometers, piles of bones, giant pits and ravines caused by magical equipment, and even a mountain thousands of meters tall had been erased out of thin air. Some of the Dharma power fluctuations in the traces still hadn't disappeared even after a long time. This should be the work of a golden core overlord. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed and he had a bad premonition. But back then, there were only a few golden core overlords in this world, such as Li Longyuan and Shintij. How could there be so many traces and be seen everywhere? Jiang Tian's speed was even faster. He streaked across the sky like a golden rainbow, speeding towards Qingyang Town. He was eager to know what had happened in the past 3 years. After a few seconds, he had crossed 100 miles and arrived above Qingyang Town. Originally, although Qingyang Town was a small town on the edge of the mainland, it had a population of 100,000 and was very prosperous with all kinds of shops. Because this was the last stop before entering the Demon Cave Mountain, many cultivators bought materials and traded Dharma treasures here. But now, most of the buildings in the town were destroyed in the war. It was a piece of ruins, 9 out of 10 houses were empty, and there were very few pedestrians. In particular, Qiao Yingluo's Hall of Divine Craftsmen was also in ruins. Seeing this, Jiang Tian couldn't help but frown. After he became the ruler of Heavenly Star, Qiao Yingluo, who was by his side, could be said to be very popular in this world. She was like a royal princess and no one dared to destroy the Qiao family's Hall of Divine Craftsmen. He knew that there was a big problem here. However, Jiang Tian didn't panic. He restrained his aura and activated Gui Yuan, suppressing his cultivation to the first level of foundation establishment so that he wouldn't attract too much attention. Only then did he land in front of the ruins of the Qiao family's Hall of Divine Craftsmen. Then, Jiang Tian's divine sense dissipated. The entire town, and even the conversations of everyone within a few hundred miles, fell into his ears. Even if some cultivators deliberately set up a soundproof restriction, it couldn't stop the perception of Jiang Tian's divine sense. Have you heard? A few days ago, Wild Waves City was breached. None of the millions of cultivators survived. They were all wiped out, not even dregs left. It's too tragic. Wasn't Jiang Haishan personally supervising the battle in Wild Wave City? Jiang Haishan is a foundation establishment powerhouse. In front of the powerhouses of Jade Lake, a mere foundation establishment is nothing. It's said that a nascent soul powerhouse took action. He didn't show up at all and just sat in a beast-headed cloud tower. With a point of his finger, Jiang Haishan exploded and turned into powder. Yes, now the 4 major cities, even Star Capital City has been destroyed. Even Emperor Ding Lai retreated to the Heavenly God sect in the Demon Cave Mountain. Only desolate Border City is left as the last fortress. In a restaurant, several people shook their heads and sighed. Jiang Tian frowned slightly. Jiang Haishan had died in battle? Jade Lake invaded? In the Thunder Lake world, Jiang Tian had searched through the memories of the powerhouses of the ruins of immortality. He also often learned about the situation of the ruins of immortality and other worlds from the True Dragon, so of course he knew. Jade Lake was a rank 3-dimensional world, on par with the Dragon Gate and Northern Sea, but it belonged to the Western Desert world. How could they rashly invade this world? Sigh, it's better to quickly earn some crystal stones and rush to the ancient transmission array of the Heavenly God sect in the Demon Cave Mountain. I heard that one can reach the Qi Yi and Songlan world from there. In any case, one can still save one's life. Easier said than done? The Heavenly God sect has indeed repaired several transmission arrays in the Qi Lei Mountain, but they are all small transmission arrays that can only transport 100 people at a time. But our star world has hundreds of millions of people. I heard that they don't need crystal stones anymore and need to draw lots. The probability is too low. No, even drawing lots is no longer possible. All transmission arrays have been closed. I heard that the Songlan world has also been invaded by Jade Lake. A small half of the continent has been destroyed. Everyone's eyes were full of despair. They drank big mouthfuls of wine and were drunk in a dream. They were filled with a kind of despair of the end of the world. Sigh, the absolute beginning dominator set the rules to reduce and exempt taxes. The human race and the demon race had a truce and built a prosperous star world. The door was opened wide, and everyone could cultivate. We mortals obtained freedom and the opportunity to become stronger. Even our lifespan was extended. In just 1 year, the star world had an increase of 100,000 cultivators and even a few gold core experts. But these hateful Jade Lake bandits. Some people gritted their teeth, and their faces were full of grief and indignation. What bullshit absolute beginning dominator? What number 1 wise ruler in history? What lord of resurgence? He is a joke. Some people were drunk and blurted out angrily. He said that he would make the Stellar Sky domain a better world, but what about now? The Jade Lake has been invading for a year, and he hasn't appeared from beginning to end. Someone shook his head bitterly and said, it's not his fault. After all, he is from the Earth domain. When he defeated the Stellar Sky Palace and Li Longyuan, he relied on tricks. He didn't have real strength. How would he dare to come? Yes, he used some kind of Dharma artifact to control Sect Master Baizhe. His real cultivation is only at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. If he meets a gold core perfected immortal or a nascent soul heavenly lord, he will definitely die, someone agreed. Patriarch True Dragon also sensed this with his divine perception. He stole a glance at Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian's face was as calm as still water. After listening for a while, he said lightly, "Let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Tian rose into the air and flew toward a few nearby towns. His divine perception continued to search. Jiang Tian found that the price of things here was more than 10 times more expensive than before. The price of daily necessities, spirit grains, and food for ordinary people had increased greatly, especially the protective and flying Dharma artifacts. Jiang Tian saw a few Taoist nuns in robes flying in the forest on swords. They were covered in blood and their clothes were ragged. There was a group of pursuers behind them. These pursuers were all quite powerful. The weakest one was at the Qi refinement level and there were hundreds of them. Among them, the leader with the highest cultivation level had even reached the peak stage of the foundation establishment. They used to be elites on this continent and could even be on par with the sect masters of the large sections. Miayu, the sect master of the Heartless sect, and Master Ashen Pine, the sect master of the Giant Sword sect, were only at the fake core level back then. These pursuers were riding on flying boats, chariots, and other flying magic tools. Some were riding on flying swords, while others were riding on flood horses and other spiritual beasts. They were awe-inspiring and breathtaking. In the blink of an eye, they had covered 10 miles and were getting closer and closer to the Taoist nuns who were riding on flying swords. Moreover, their flying boats and chariots were equipped with medium-sized artifacts. They shot out hundreds of meter-long lightning bolts, tearing through the void and striking at the Taoist nuns. They were ruthless and merciless, sending the Taoist nuns flying up and down as they cried out in pain. "Kill! Don't let a single one of them go!" The pursuers shouted loudly. They were also humans, but if one looked closely, they were completely different from the humans in Star World. Their hair was red or golden, they had high noses and deep eyes. Their skin was fairer, but their pores were thicker and their body hair was abundant. There was a blood-red flag embroidered with the words, "Jade Pool Left Army," hanging on the chariots and flying boats. Chapter 1305. Jiang Tian and the True Dragon Grand Elder had both restrained their auras and concealed their sharpness. As for the large black dog, it was merely a dog in their eyes, not even worth mentioning. So, they didn't use any mid-sized weapons. It was just a casual shot by a cavalryman. However, from their point of view, this arrow contained a vast amount of lightning energy. Being able to kill a foundation establishment cultivator was already like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. They did not pay much attention to it. "How dare you? How dare you shoot my master? Do you want to die?" Seeing this, ancestral patriarch True Dragon's eyes became clear and sharp. His energy surged to the golden core level and then to the nascent soul level. At the same time, he threw a punch. Rumble! The giant hand swept across the sky. There seemed to be a giant meteorite in the sky. It was extremely heavy and huge, covering the sky with terrifying energy. A dozen flying boats and battleships exploded in the sky like a string of firecrackers. Hundreds of cultivators didn't even have time to scream. Even the strongest peak foundation establishment leader was only able to turn the warship around. He didn't even make it 10 meters before he exploded in the air, turning into a rain of blood and flesh. He died and became a confused ghost. "Damn you, True Dragon. Are you an idiot? How can I eat them? They're all foundation establishment cultivators. They don't even have a golden core cultivator." The black dog widened his eyes in anger. "Brother, I was too harsh. I'm sorry." The True Dragon Patriarch bent his waist and resumed his old servant image. He scratched his head and smiled embarrassedly. "You're asking for it?" Jiang Tian coldly snorted. "I'm going to search their souls and figure out the defense of the Jade Lake Army. I'll be busy for a while if you kill them all." This old servant was just trying to protect Master. "Please forgive me, Master. Please don't be angry." True Dragon Patriarch's face stiffened, and he hurriedly bowed and admitted his mistake. "Come back." Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered with him. He grabbed at the air with his hand. Crack. The air cracked and Jiang Tian's hand turned into a giant golden hand. It reached dozens of miles away and grabbed the leading Taoist nun, then pulled her in front of him. The Kuan Peng was extremely fast, breaking through the space. 100 miles away seemed to be very close. The Taoist nun could already see desolate city in the distance. Suddenly, a golden light flashed in front of her eyes, and the sky and earth spun. She went from the outskirts of the city to the place where Jiang Tian was. She was startled, and quickly held her sword in her hand. "Senior, who exactly are you? You are a dignified true immortal of the Golden Core realm. Why do you have to make things difficult for me? I'm Miao Su from the Heartless sect. I don't know you, so how did I offend you?" Her sharp sword chi was condensed but not released. She was only waiting for Jiang Tian to show any signs of hostility before immediately erupting. This sword strike was enough to severely injure a Foundation establishment powerhouse. Her heart was filled with fear as cold sweat poured down her back. After all, given her level of cultivation, the other party had to be at least in the late Foundation establishment stage or even a Golden Core stage minor true immortal to be able to teleport her here in an instant. Miao Su was not sure if he was a friend or foe if he acted so rashly. "Merciless Sex Miayu is your master?" Jiang Tian asked. "That's right, that was Junior's master. A year ago he had already successfully condensed his gold core, but unfortunately he fell in the battle to protect the Wild Wave City. Senior, do you know my master?" Miao Su scanned the surroundings. Those Jade Lake pursuers were already gone, and there seemed to be a lot of fragments on the ground. Could it be, she's already dead? Jiang Tian's eyes were filled with sorrow. Miayu was upright and outspoken, but because he had repeatedly misjudged his own strength, he had caused many mishaps and did not please either side. In the end, in the battle between Jiang Tian and Li Longyuan at Qingqiu Mountain, he was in a neutral position and did not help either side. In the end, Jiang Tian only gave him a small punishment and let him go. "I've been in seclusion for nearly 3 years. What happened in Heavenly Star during these 3 years? Why did the Jade Lake army invade this place?" Jiang Tian pondered for a moment and asked. Fairy Miaosu revealed a look of realization. So he was an old monster who had been in seclusion. No wonder he was so strong. Then, Fairy Miaosu was delighted. If such a powerhouse was recruited by the army or the Heartless sect, it would definitely be a great merit. It all started after Immortal Master Zhenyin, oh no, he was called Kong Teichu, became the ruler of Heavenly Star. With Miaosu's tireless explanation, Jiang Tian gradually understood the situation that had happened here in the past few years. After Jiang Tian left, Bai Zhe immediately carried out Jiang Tian's plan. The human race and the demon race jointly built Star World, repaired many damaged formations, and opened the door to convenience. A year later, the formations were finally successfully repaired and operated smoothly. The crisis of the continent's collapse was completely resolved, and the spiritual energy was much purer and richer. Many people felt that their bodies suddenly became strong and healthy, and many minor illnesses were cured without treatment. And the number of people with cultivation talent had increased greatly. From then on, Star World ushered in a golden age. Cultivators began to break through bottlenecks one by one. Foundation establishment cultivators came out in large numbers, and even Golden Core cultivators began to break through. Mortals lived and worked in peace. Cultivators and powerhouses reached the limit. Different races, cultivators and mortals lived in harmony. A glorious era was about to begin. We are very lucky to participate, experience, and witness this great era together. We believe that Heavenly Star will usher in a rare opportunity. One day we will even conquer the Sea of Stars, but we must never forget that this world changed because of one person. His name is Kong Teichu. He is the eternal ruler of this world. Jiang Tian's old friend, Bai Zhe of the Heavenly God sect, made an important speech in a speech. In fact, at that time, countless people were grateful for Jiang Tian's kindness and treated Jiang Tian as their savior. Morning and night, they kowtowed, burned incense, and prayed, just like a true god. After all, within a year after Jiang Tian left, several Golden Core cultivators sprouted like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. Originally, Li Longyuan had plundered and spent hundreds of years of hard work, but he only piled up 2 golden cores, himself and Shintij. How could they compare? Mortals, on the other hand, preferred such an orderly life. Humans and demons stopped fighting and recuperated. Mortals didn't have to pay so much annual tribute. Demons even helped humans build cities, build fortifications, and reclaim farmland. Everyone was happy. But at this moment, Jade Lake World suddenly sent 100,000 troops through a teleportation artifact. They tore the world's boundary, broke the dimensional barrier, and marched straight in. Although the Stellar Sky Domain powerhouses fought back bravely and didn't fear death, such as Mieyu and Jiang Haishan, they were still defeated. Because the Jade Lake army was too strong. The Jade Lake was a grade 3-dimensional world, and it was governed by the Heavenly Dao sect. The Heavenly Dao sect master was like Li Longyuan in the Stellar Sky world. He was like an emperor, and his words carried enormous weight. Many orthodoxies and clans didn't dare to disobey. To put it bluntly, the Heavenly Dao sect and Jade Lake world were just 2 signboards and 1 set of people. It was rumored that the Heavenly Dao sect alone had several nascent soul old monsters, dozens of golden core cultivators, and countless foundation establishment immortal masters and chi refinement experts. Jade Lake was so powerful that it was comparable to many second-grade dimensional worlds. Besides, Jade Lake had already controlled 5 fourth-grade dimensional worlds, which were comparable to Stellar Sky Domain. There were many medium-sized and small sects in the Jade Lake world. Together with these forces, it was even more terrifying. This time, there was a nascent soul heavenly lord in the Jade Lake army. The young sect master of the Heavenly Dao sect, Chen Liuha, was the commander of the army. He was extremely talented. He was only 30 years old, but he had already entered the nascent soul level. In addition, the inheritors of the 4 Heavenly Lord families in Jade Lake and the young talents from the dimensional worlds under Jade Lake were also involved. Each of them had a powerful background. Some were taught by a nascent soul Heavenly Lord in their family, and some were the sons of the masters of a world. They were all extremely talented and powerful, at least at the golden core level. They were also supported by the elders and consecrators of the older generation. In Star World, there were only 10,000 chi refinement cultivators, only a few foundation establishment cultivators, and only a few golden core cultivators. They weren't even on the same level. How could they win? Jiang Haishan and Mieyu had lost a lot of overlords of the older generation. Ding Lai was severely injured and Bai Zhe couldn't fight for some reason. Is that all? According to you, Bai Zhe shouldn't have lost so much territory in 3 months, even if they sent 100,000 soldiers. Besides, Bai Zhe is a nascent soul cultivator. Why can't he fight? Jiang Tian questioned. Miao Su's face changed and she stammered. Tell me. Jiang Tian coldly snorted. A vast spiritual pressure descended from the sky, causing the space to solidify. Miao Su's body trembled. She felt as if she were being watched by an ancient true god. She couldn't breathe and even her cells were trembling. He's a golden core perfected immortal. She was terrified and she broke out in cold sweat. The energy was retracted immediately. However, all the cultivators and mortals within 100 miles felt the energy and trembled uneasily. Miao Su staggered and almost fell to the ground. She managed to stabilize herself and said, I heard that. Yuan Zihua secretly poisoned Bai Zhe. Yuan Zihua has already surrendered to the overlords of Jade Lake. Taoist Master Kuan Ling and Master Kuhai might also attack together. Therefore, Sect Master Bai Zhe's cultivation has dropped and he can only command from behind the scenes. However, these are just rumors. Please forgive me if there are any mistakes. How dare they betray us? Bai Zhe is their master. He let them go on Qingqiu Mountain once. How dare they betray us again? We shouldn't have let them go back then. Deep inside Jiang Tian's eyes, cold killing intent and anger slowly condensed. Chapter 1306. These people had all signed a divine soul contract with him. Once he activated the curse, they would die for sure. However, Jiang Tian reacted quickly. Although the divine soul contract was strong, it still needed a living person to activate it. In their opinion, as long as he was killed, the contract would not be a threat. In fact, Sect Master Bai Zhe couldn't fight, so Mieu, Jiang Haishan and many other seniors died quickly in the battle. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been defeated like this, Miao Su said with tears in her eyes. Where are you going? Jiang Tian asked. To the border city. Miao Su said. The Heartless Sect's training ground has been broken, and many disciples have broken through. Only the border city and the Demon Cave Mountain are left, which still belong to the natives of the Stellar Sky Domain. The border city is guarded by Miao Yi, Jiang Yunhe and other young people. The other cities have been occupied by the Jade Lake experts. Star Capital City, Floating Spear City, and Wild Wave City are all occupied by the enemy. Right now, although Yuan Zihua, Taoist Kunling, and Master Kuhai claim to be neutral and not willing to see the people in misery, they are mediating. In fact, they have become the lackeys of the Jade Lake experts, working for the enemy. The Jade Lake also trained them at all costs to ease the conflict and disintegrate the resistance of the Stellar Sky Domain cultivators. I heard that Master Kuhai and the others are going to hold a peace meeting in the Raging Wave cities in the clouds. They hope that the two sides of the Jade Lake will put down their weapons and make peace. Jiang Tian nodded and said, What's the name of the nascent soul realm cultivator in the Jade Lake army? Well, I'm too weak to know, Miao Su lowered her head and said with shame, I heard that this nascent soul realm cultivator doesn't show up easily. Even when he attacks, he sits in a cloud tower and can kill Golden Core realm experts with a flick of his finger. It's terrifying to the extreme. Jiang Tian showed a look of disdain and snorted, a mere nascent soul realm cultivator pretending to be mysterious, he's courting death. The true dragon patriarch couldn't wait any longer. He rubbed his fists and grinned. What is the Jade Lake? A mere nascent soul realm cultivator, dozens of Golden Core realm cultivators and 100,000 chickens and dogs, how dare they take Master's territory? Bastards, this old servant will go and kill them right now. Dozens of gold cores are not enough. The large black dog's saliva was dripping down. Then he suddenly complained gloomily, But true dragon, are you insulting me by calling them dogs? Miao Su glanced at the large black dog, and she was suddenly dumbstruck. Her delicate body trembled and she exclaimed, Why are the ruler of the absolute beginning? You've actually returned. As the chaotic divine body was condensed, Jiang Tian's body also underwent some changes. His appearance became more and more perfect, and he was only 80% similar to his original appearance. Moreover, although the name Absolute Beginning Dominator resounded in Miao Su's ears like thunder, her level was too low. She had never seen Jiang Tian in person. She had only seen the statues and portraits, so she couldn't recognize him. It was only when the large black dog spoke that she finally matched the Jiang Tian before her with Kong Taichu. She had heard that the Taichu ruler had a large black dog that could speak. I am the master of this world. Why can't I return? Jiang Tian chuckled and asked. This is what Taoist Master Kunling and the others said. He said that there is a nascent soul cultivator, several nascent soul cultivators, and many golden core cultivators in the Stellar Sky Domain. Even if you dare to return, you will return the way you came. You won't dare to attack. Miao Su's teeth chattered as she spoke, afraid of angering Jiang Tian. How was this a transcendent expert of the hidden world? He was a peerless demon king. Back then, he had led Bai Zhe and the demons of the Crimson Thunder Mountain to massacre Qingqiu Mountain, killing almost 1,000 Foundation Establishment Immortal Masters and 2 Golden Core True Immortals. He had caused rivers of blood to flow in Star World. Of course, Jiang Tian had also implemented many benevolent policies here. However, he hadn't been here at the time, and Bai Zhe and the others had done it on his behalf. Thus, the deepest impression that had left on Miao Su was Jiang Tian's cruelty and viciousness in massacring Qingqiu Mountain. Jiang Tian glanced indifferently at Miao Su and said, Don't speak of our meeting today. Otherwise, I will kill you. Don't worry, I won't say a word. Miao Su was so frightened that she prostrated herself on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. When she raised her head again, all she saw was white clouds drifting around her. The heavenly winds howled, and Jiang Tian and the other two were nowhere to be seen. Let's go to Wild Wave City. During the peace gathering, we'll kill Yuan Zihua and the others and leave no one alive. Hateful indeed. A traitor is even more hateful than an enemy. All the golden cores are mine. Don't waste them by crushing them. Master has to refine them into spirit pills for me to eat. Jiang Tian and the other two stepped on Absolute Heaven Sword and flew rapidly toward Wild Wave City. Along the way, Jiang Tian met many Foundation establishment cultivators and heard many discussions. Sai, Misery C, Kun Ling, and the others asked us to attend the peace gathering. They are up to no good. They said that they want to sign a truce agreement, but they are actually forcing Star World to surrender completely and hand over all their rights. I heard that Ding Lai came personally to negotiate this time. How troublesome. How can Ding Lai withstand it? The three giants are all on the enemy's side. Don't talk about Ding Lai. Even sects like us who were originally not involved in this matter have to bow our heads and submit. If we knew this would happen, we should have stood on the side of the Heavenly God sect and the Empire Emperor Ding Lai. If we fought with them, we would at least have a slight chance of winning. It's just a slight chance of winning. The other party has nascent Soul Realm old monsters, 10 Golden Core Realm experts, and an army of 100,000. Who can resist them? Many Stellar Sky Domain cultivators shook their heads and sighed dejectedly. Some gritted their teeth and clenched their fists so tightly that they were about to break. Their hatred was overflowing. The Jade Lake's army invaded, and Stellar Sky Domain retreated step by step. Large areas of territory were lost, and no one could stay out of this. There were even 1 or 2 Foundation establishment cultivators among them, but they were still like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They didn't have much choice. They could either become the Jade Lake's lackeys or die. Right at this moment, a few 100-feet-long battleships, cloud towers, and flying boats flew across the sky, emitting a powerful aura. The tallest battleship in the middle was inlaid with gold and jade. It was dazzling. Countless runes were engraved on the hull of the battleship. Windwalk runes, lightning trap runes, Vajra runes, and escape runes. The runes formed an array. After it was activated, it could block the all-out attacks of nascent Soul Realm experts several times. In terms of value, it was even more valuable than a spirit treasure and was close to a true artifact. Get out of the way. Our young master is going through. Anyone who blocks him will die. Around the battleship, hundreds of armored guards were riding on white wands and holding battle spears. They shouted arrogantly and looked down on everyone. They were strict and powerful. Each of them was above the Foundation Establishment realm. The leader was even at the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm and was close to the Fake Core realm. Hundreds of people gathered together and came like a rolling iron stream. They were so powerful that they could wipe out the medium-sized sects in Stellar Sky Domain. It's Duanmu Ci from the Duanmu family of the Jade Lake Heavenly Monarch family. Run! Many cultivators were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They trembled and ran in all directions, as if little rabbits had seen a wolf. The Duanmu family was the army of 100,000 soldiers in Jade Lake. They had thousands of cultivators and golden core overlords. Who would dare to offend them? Now, the Duanmu family's army had completely taken over Wild Wave City, and the current city lord was Duanmu Ci's father. Duanmu Ci had a handsome appearance. His long golden hair draped over his shoulders. He wore chainmail and a pair of golden boots. His tall figure was like a celestial being. His gaze was disdainful, and his temperament was evil. He possessed a unique charm. He looked very young, but his cultivation was already at the mid-stage of the Golden Core realm. He alone could suppress Li Longyuan. Beside him stood a young girl with an enchanting and sexy figure, who could be called a stunner. The young girl's skin was snow white, and her golden hair was wavy and scattered behind her head. Her chest was high, and her waist was slender. She was born with double pupils. They were very clear, but they were bursting with radiance, giving off a somewhat intimidating feeling. However, she looked a little dispirited and depressed. Behind the two of them, there were 10 mid-stage and late-stage foundation establishment overlords led by an early-stage golden core overlord. They stood respectfully with their hands behind their backs. Duanmu Ci took out a small jade box with exquisite carvings. He was calm and elegant as he smiled. This is the purple gold bell that Princess Ding Lingdang used in the past. I got it on the battlefield. I asked a formation master in the army to refine it, and it has been upgraded to a high-grade spirit treasure. It's only a step away from a true weapon. It can barely be used as an accessory for Miss Long. A high-grade spirit treasure is nothing but trash in my eyes. You want to hit on my sister? You're far from it. Long Yanan was disdainful and arrogant. Besides, am I the kind of person who only cares about money? Vulgar. Embarrassment flashed across Duanmu Ci's face. He put away the jade box and smiled seriously. Your sister, Long Xingnan, is the #1 beauty in Below Sea World. She's also the saintess of Dragon Gate and the #1 expert. She is both talented and beautiful. How could this humble one dare to claim her status? His words were not flattering. His eyes were filled with deep yearning and respect. Obviously, he admired this Long Xingnan very much. At least you know your place. Long Yanan smiled faintly and then looked around casually. She shook her head and sighed with lack of interest. The spirit chi in the star world is so weak. It's like a remote village. Yu Chen Liuha and the others still spent so much effort to snatch it. It's really laughable. Duanmu Ci was shocked, but he did not dare to be angry. After all, the other party came from the second-level Hylon dimension and had a noble status. This purple gold bell is indeed not worthy of your attention. Duanmu Ci forced a smile and changed the topic. However, there is a 1,000-year-old immortal herb growing on the Jade Lake's sacred mountain. My father seized it from a low-level dimension and carefully transplanted it. If you need it, you can pick it when we arrive at the Jade Lake. Hearing this, Long Yanan immediately revealed a smile, revealing 2 sharp canine teeth. Her beautiful eyes sparkled as she said, "Is that true? If I use this precious medicine to increase my cultivation and break through to the nascent soul realm, I will be able to climb to the top of the immortal ruins list. I can finally see my sister's back." Her appearance was very beautiful. When she smiled, it was like 100 flowers blooming, brightening the surroundings, causing the surrounding guards to steal glances at her. The two chatted along the way. Suddenly, Long Yanan's beautiful eyes flashed fiercely and her face turned cold. She pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted, "Kid, stop right there. Why are you running away? Are you guilty? Do you have the right to behave atrociously in this place?" Chapter 1307. Jiang Tian stood in the air on his flying sword and frowned. Initially, he wanted to kill the 3 traitors, Kun Ling, Ku Hai, and Yuan Zihua directly. However, when he saw the fleet approaching, he did not want to alert the enemy and thus avoided them. Unexpectedly, the other party still took the initiative to come to him. Furthermore, they were the ones who told him to avoid and not escape. They were clearly looking for trouble. However, Jiang Tian understood the next moment. There was a deep greed in the depths of the girl's eyes. She was clearly interested in his absolute heaven sword. Initially, Jiang Tian had just refined a nameless flying sword that was also a numinous treasure and was prepared to use it in daily battles. After all, the absolute heaven sword was an immortal weapon with shocking lethality and was Jiang Tian's final trump card. He could not show it to others easily. However, when the absolute heaven sword was not activated, its sharpness was completely hidden. Its divine radiance was restrained, and it looked ancient and dim. Ordinary people would not be able to tell its level. Thus, when Jiang Tian casually stepped on it earlier, he did not pay too much attention to it. He did not expect the girl to be able to tell that the sword was extraordinary. She had quite a good eye. "Are you deaf? I'm asking you a question. Didn't you hear me?" When the girl saw Jiang Tian and the other 2 talking, she could not help but look angry and arrogant. Jiang Tian could not be bothered to speak and his killing intent flashed. After being reprimanded by Jiang Tian, The true dragon patriarch bowed and lowered his head, not daring to speak rashly. On the other hand, the large black dog dug his nose and smiled slyly. Girl, you're interested in my master's flying sword? Long Yanin was not used to the naked robbery of the cultivation world and preferred to use tricks. Her face turned red when her thoughts were exposed and she sneered. Who would be interested in your lousy flying sword? I wouldn't want it even if you gave it to me for free. Foundation Establishment Level 1? Duanmu Ci glanced at Jiang Tian with extreme disdain as though he was looking at an ant. When Jiang Tian performed Origin Restoration, the vast true essence in his dantian was compressed to the extreme and was almost invisible. Even a nascent soul stage cultivator might not be able to detect it, let alone Duanmu Ci. If Fairy Yanin likes that artifact sword, just tell me. Why do you have to waste your breath on these ants from the stellar sky domain? Duanmu Ci smiled faintly and sent a message to Long Yannan with his divine sense. Then, he gave a meaningful glance to an iron bodyguard beside him. Understood. The guard was a Foundation Establishment cultivator. Stepping on his flying sword, he broke the sonic barrier and approached Jiang Tian and the others like a bolt of lightning. Although the guard had come over, Duanmu Ci's carriage didn't even stop and continued to walk slowly. Duanmu Ci and Long Yanin ignored him and turned their heads to continue chatting. Hee, what's a mere elixir to be able to win the fairy smile? Duanmu Ci continued the topic and smiled freely. Fairy, your talent is outstanding. With the help of this elixir and the support of the Jade Pool world, it's not impossible for you to aim for the top spot in the future and be on par with your sister, Fairy Xingnan. He had put in so much effort for a scheme, and it wasn't even his scheme alone. It was the scheme of the entire Jade Pool world. By forming a relationship with Hai Lan and Dragon Rearing Sect, there was hope for the Jade Pool to become a second-grade dimensional world in the future. Sigh, big brother Duanmu, you think too highly of me. My sister's talent is truly outstanding. I can't catch up to her even if I flatter her. Originally, Long Yanin had purposely kept a distance from Duanmu Ci and acted high and mighty like a princess going on an inspection tour to meet a local official. However, after receiving the benefits, she called Duanmu Ci big brother and called herself little sister to appear closer. Duanmu Ci didn't seem to have noticed it and chatted with her naturally, becoming more and more humorous. As for the Foundation Establishment Realm Guard, he quickly crossed dozens of miles and arrived in front of Jiang Tian. With a face full of disdain, he shouted, "Three of you, listen up. This is the patrol team of the young city lord of Wild Wave City, young Master Duanmu. They see that the three of you are acting suspiciously and are suspected to be traitors of the Heavenly God sect. Immediately hand over your artifacts and treasures and come to the ship for inspection." "What if I don't hand them over and don't go?" Jiang Tian asked indifferently. "Aunt, do you still dare to disobey orders? Then I'll kill you on the spot." The guard's face sank and he roared angrily. "Kill them." Jiang Tian didn't even raise his eyelids as he said slowly, "Yes, master." Old Ancestor True Dragon bowed respectfully and pointed with a simple finger. The guard's brain exploded, and his brain and blood blossomed in the air like white plum blossoms. His soul was shattered. Before he died, his round eyes were still filled with shock, fear, and panic, as if he had not expected that he would die so casually. Old Ancestor True Dragon raised his hand and took the body with a flattering expression. "Brother Dehei, do you want to eat?" "No, I don't. He doesn't even have a golden core and his meat is too rough." Dehei curled his lips. Old Ancestor True Dragon wasn't angry. He raised his hand and put the body back on the ship. "Here you go." Seeing this, Duanmu Ci's face sank and a cold light flashed in his eyes. "How dare you? In the jurisdiction of Wild Wave City, there are still people who dare to disobey my orders." "Commander Shin, isn't this guard of yours a little too useless?" Behind him, the several Foundation Establishment bodyguards were filled with fear. Cold sweat flowed down their backs like a waterfall. The leader of the guards was an early-stage Golden Core Realm Guard. He stepped forward and said coldly, "Don't worry, young master, I'll definitely kill these people." "You can kill them, but don't kill that dog." As for Long Yanin, the double pupils in her beautiful eyes spun and contracted, and a bright light flickered as she swept her gaze over the large black dog excitedly. This black dog is a dragon and hasn't reached the nascent soul realm yet, but it can speak human language. I'm afraid it's a high-level dragon. I want to take it as my pet. Miss Long is right. Did you hear that, Commander Shin? Duanmu Ci didn't see the true bloodline of the old dragon, but he was still very confident in Long Yanin's eyes. Although the dragon clan was a human race, it was said that they were descendants of the ancient gods and specialized in the dragon clan, the god of creation. No one could confirm whether this was true or not, but the dragon clan was indeed good at identifying spirit beasts such as dragons and phoenixes. I understand. As soon as Commander Shin's voice fell, he used his divine sense to transmit his voice. Immediately, hundreds of Foundation establishment cultivators rose to the sky and ran towards Jiang Tian. Dehei shouted with disdain, "You're so greedy. Not only do you want the flying sword, but you also want to take me as your pet. You're so greedy. Don't you know that I want to eat your golden cores and take you as my pet? Bitch." Long Yanin was so angry that her face turned pale. "Bitch. You're all bitches," Dehei retorted. Duanmu Ci's eyes were full of viciousness. He said coldly, "Miss Long, even if this dog has the bloodline of a dragon, it's not easy to deal with. Why don't we just kill it? Kill it. Skin it alive," Long Yanin said fiercely. While they were talking, the team had already arrived in front of Jiang Tian and they all took out their weapons. Suddenly, the ancestral patriarch of the true dragon clan slapped. Bang! Over 100 Foundation establishment cultivators immediately exploded in the air. Blood danced in the air. It was a magnificent sight. They turned into a rain of translucent flesh that rained down. This old man is a golden core overlord. He also seems to have the bloodline of a dragon. Is he an overlord from the Dragon Gate world? This time, even Long Yanin couldn't help but be surprised. On the other hand, Duanmu Ci's face was already trembling in shock and anger. His eyes were about to crack as he said coldly, "Commander Shin, you can't be forgiven for disturbing an important guest like Miss Long. If you can't kill these two people and the dog, I'll report it to my father when I return to the city. Don't worry, young master. I won't let you down." Commander Shin was so scared that he was covered in cold sweat. He knelt down on one knee and bowed. Then he led 10 late-stage Foundation establishment stage bodyguards and another 10 Foundation establishment stage cultivators to the sky and charged at Jiang Tian and the other two like giant cannons. Hundreds of Foundation establishment cultivators spread out and attacked from all directions. They seemed to be messy, but in fact, they were quite organized and formed a battle array. If they attacked at the same time, they could crush a peak-stage golden core cultivator. From this point, it could be seen that Commander Shin wasn't a useless person. He was just unlucky to have met Jiang Tian. However, Commander Shin and the others had just formed a battle array and didn't have time to attack. Suddenly, they felt that their dantian was frozen. The spiritual energy within 1,000 square meters was as hard as a rock and could not be triggered at all. Their bodies, magical equipment, and weapons were all restrained and confined. They could not even move their little fingers. The Forbidden Realm. This old man is a nascent soul overlord. Commander Shin turned pale with fright, his heart terrified to the extreme. This old man was using a standard Forbidden Realm. It was extremely powerful. Not everyone could understand it even among the nascent soul cultivators. This was a nascent soul overlord. However, he couldn't understand it all. For thousands of years, Star World only had Bai Zhe as a nascent soul overlord. There were no nascent soul overlords at all. If there were, Star World wouldn't be a 4th-level dimensional world. It would be a 3rd-level world immediately. It could only be an outsider. But the key was that the space channels and teleportation arrays from other worlds to Star World were all occupied by them. No one could enter at all. How could there be a nascent soul overlord in Star World for no reason? No matter how shocked Commander Shin was, he couldn't change the reality. He knew that he had underestimated the enemy. He was regretful and angry. This old man was very bad. He deliberately used a clever method to hide his cultivation. However, it was all too late. Ancestor Jin Long swept his palm. Commander Shin and many guards exploded into a rain of blood and disappeared in the air. Chapter 1308. I finally got a golden core to eat. The large black dog leaped out and picked up Commander Shin's golden core with his mouth. As if he was eating hard candy, he chewed on it loudly, extremely happy. Let's go. Middle Foundation Establishment Cultivators, protect Miss Long. The rest of the guards, protect the rear. Use a sound transmission Dharma artifact to send a message to Wild Wave City and call for reinforcements. Duanmu Ci was shocked. Although he didn't see the true dragon use the forbidden area, he knew that he had met a strong cultivator who was far stronger than an ordinary golden core cultivator. He did not expect to meet such a strong person. He had really kicked an iron plate. He gave a few orders in a row, but there was only one core. Run. It's a pity that my nascent soul cultivator didn't come. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the chance to be so presumptuous. None of them can escape. At this time, Long Yanan was also very depressed. She looked at the flying sword and the big black dog under Jiang Tian's feet reluctantly and stomped her feet in anger. After receiving Duanmu Ci's order, the warship suddenly accelerated, instantly breaking 10 times the speed of sound and still increasing. Dozens of death warriors, some standing on Dharma artifacts and some riding spirit birds, spread out on the side of the fleet and released their Dharma artifacts toward Jiang Tian, wanting to stop them. Seeing this, Duanmu Ci was slightly relieved. He thought that with the speed of his treasure ship, the other party wouldn't be able to catch up. Not to mention that his treasure ship was a priceless treasure that even a nascent soul cultivator couldn't destroy easily. As expected, bang bang bang, the true dragon patriarch used his secret techniques again and again, but he couldn't destroy or stop Duanmu Ci's giant ship. The giant ship released layers of colorful shields. Although it trembled crazily under the true dragon's attack, it still didn't collapse. The reactor at the back of the ship spewed out bright light and pushed forward rapidly. The ship was getting farther and farther away and was about to break free. When I call for reinforcements, I'll definitely cut you into pieces. Duanmu Ci turned around and looked at Jiang Tian and the others with a fierce expression. His eyes were as sharp as knives and his eyes were filled with hatred. At this moment, he wanted to cut Jiang Tian and the others into pieces. Ever since they set foot in this world, their Jade Lake world had been victorious in every battle. He simply regarded the cultivators of the Heavenly Star realm as ants and casually crushed them to vent his anger. Furthermore, even in the Jade Lake world, the Duanmu family was considered a tyrant. Who would dare to offend them? When had he ever suffered such a setback? Useless thing. Seeing this, Jiang Tian had no choice but to make a move. He waved his hand and activated the Sea-Calming Ice Divine Body. The Forbidden Zone froze the area within 100 miles. Immediately, within this area, every blade of grass, every tree, every bird, every beast, every living thing in the world, and even space, were tightly confined and bound. In the forest, a wild rabbit jumped out of the grass in fright, and an eagle swooped down from the sky, its eyes ferocious, but it suddenly froze in place like a statue. The guards and cultivators maintained their battle postures. Even their expressions of anger, fear, and fury were vivid and lifelike. Even the treasured ship was still spurting out flames with full force, but it was unable to move at all. After all, space was the most difficult power to control. Jiang Tian could only maintain the forbidden domain for 3 flicks of his fingers. But for Jiang Tian's terrifying speed of 10,000 miles in an instant, it was already enough. Jiang Tian activated the heaven-severing sword under his feet and waved his sleeves. He took Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon, who had already killed many guards, across dozens of miles and landed on Duanmu Ci's treasured ship. Then, the forbidden domain finally collapsed. Birds flew away, rabbits ran away, and hundreds of corpses fell to the ground like rain. But the area within 100 miles was dead silent. Other than Duanmu Ci's treasured ship, all the other ships had fallen to the ground and shattered. Stop everything within 100 miles. It's over. We've met a peerless overlord. Duanmu Si's eyes twitched. He had never thought that this young man was the most powerful overlord. Before, he had thought that Jiang Tian was the disciple of ancestral patriarch True Dragon, so he had completely ignored him. Senior, please forgive me. It's all my subordinates' fault. They didn't know what was good for them and chased you away. I'll definitely compensate them handsomely. Seeing Jiang Tian walk over, Duanmu Si was already scared out of his wits. He almost peed his pants. He bowed and cupped his fists, begging for mercy. He could not understand. This young man clearly had a foundation establishment aura. How could he release such a terrifying forbidden domain? No, this could even be considered a domain. It was comparable to the soul formation realm. But where did such a powerful overlord come from in the stellar sky domain? He could not figure it out even if he racked his brains. But he definitely understood that such a powerful person was not someone he could afford to offend. Such a powerful overlord could even sweep through the ruins of immortality. Not to mention the other guards on the ship. They were so scared that their legs turned to jelly. They could not even stand properly. Even Long Yanan could not be arrogant. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock and fear. Is that so? Why did I hear that they wanted to search me and steal my treasures? Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon brought a chair over. Jiang Tian sat down with his legs crossed and said with a half-smile, "How can it be fake?" Duanmu Si's bent waist was almost touching the ground now. He had a flattering smile on his face and said, "I was ordered to patrol. I just asked the guards to persuade the cultivators here to leave and not offend them." He straightened his body and his expression immediately turned furious. He grabbed another Peak Foundation establishment cultivator and angrily roared, "Brother, you're the leader of the group. You blind dog. How dare you offend Senior Heavenly Lord? You act inappropriately and disturb the commoners. You have ruined our reputation. Your sins are unforgivable. Young master, please spare me." That commander was so scared that his soul almost left his body. His face was as pale as paper. This was a completely unexpected disaster. They had already occupied this place and often killed cultivators and mortals for fun. Not only did Duanmu Si not stop them, he even participated in it personally and encouraged them. However, Duanmu Si wanted to kill him to give Jiang Tian face. How could he let him go? With a shake of his arm, the commander instantly turned into a bloody mist. Duanmu Si said respectfully, "I killed this commander as punishment. I hope Senior Heavenly Lord can calm your anger for now. From now on, I will be strict and will not make such mistakes again." "Are you done? You can die now." Jiang Tian looked on coldly with a half-smile and didn't say much. At this moment, a cold glint flashed in his eyes and he flicked his fingers, about to kill Duanmu Si. Duanmu Si felt a chill down his spine and an unprecedented sense of danger surged in his heart. He knew that if he didn't let Jiang Tian do it, he might die here today. He was indeed a mighty lord, a golden core expert and a powerhouse of the Jade Lake world. He said firmly, "Senior, don't kill me. As long as you spare my life, I'll be a distinguished guest of Star World and a distinguished guest of the Duanmu family in Jade Lake. We'll give you anything you want. We can even give you an immortal treasure medicine to help you break through to the nascent soul realm." The cold glint in Jiang Tian's eyes seemed to have receded a little. Seeing this, Duanmu Si became even more certain and spoke with assurance. "I'm a disciple of the Duanmu family, one of the 4 Heavenly Lord families in the Jade Lake world. The Duanmu family has a nascent soul Heavenly Lord and many golden core Heavenly Lords. We can even converse with the supreme being of the ruins of immortality, Ruins Emperor. I believe, Senior, as a hero, you should be able to distinguish between friend and foe. Do you think I won't dare to kill you after you say that? Do you think I haven't killed a nascent soul cultivator before?" Jiang Tian's face was full of disdain and there was no emotion in his eyes. "Heavenly Lord, please don't be angry." Duanmu Si shuddered and panic appeared in his eyes again. He knelt on the ground and lowered his head, saying in a low voice, "Senior, I'm helping you analyze the pros and cons. I don't mean to threaten you at all. Ha, you occupied my territory, killed my cultivators and killed my people. Today, you even dare to take my treasure. Go to hell. Jiang Tian smirked coldly. He raised a hand and made a grabbing motion, plucking out his golden core and casually tossing it to the large black dog. Thank you, master. The large black dog's saliva was dripping from its mouth, and it munched on the food heartily. Halfway through, he said gloomily, "It doesn't taste good. Master, I'll spit it out now. Is it too late for you to help me make a spirit pill? How dare you kill me?" Duanmu's eye was full of vitality and didn't die immediately. He watched as his golden core was taken away, but it became food for a dog. He couldn't help but let out a shrill cry. Don't be picky. Jiang Tian was expressionless as the divine disc in his dantian spun. Suddenly, an endless devouring power pulled Duanmu's divine soul out like a black hole and tore his body to pieces, leaving only his head in the storage ring. The absolute beginning dominator is back. How dare he come back? Everyone said he didn't dare to come back. It's him. When he was patrolling Wild Wave City, I saw him from afar. He looks 90% similar, especially that big black dog. I can't be wrong. The cultivators who were hiding in the surroundings saw this scene with their divine senses or heaven eyes. They couldn't help but turn pale with fright and whisper to each other. The absolute beginning dominator killed golden core cultivators like killing chickens and dogs. Has he reached the nascent soul level? Our stellar sky world is saved. Hurry, let's go and meet him. Many cultivators within 100 miles were in high spirits and cried tears of joy. Originally, many people were afraid and even disgusted when Jiang Tian led by Zhe and other demons to massacre Qingqiu Mountain back then. However, Jiang Tian did fulfill his promise and helped them repair many Dharma arrays, achieving harmony between humans and demons. The country was prosperous and the people were at peace. They already regarded Jiang Tian as a wise ruler and leader. However, this glorious era was broken by the invasion of the Jade Lake world. Compared to Jiang Tian, the Jade Lake world was much more terrifying and hateful. They carried out a policy of exterminating all cultivators. They massacred cities and destroyed countries. Everywhere they went, the land turned red. Not even a blade of grass was left alive. At this moment, they were certainly looking forward to and welcoming Jiang Tian's return. Lu Kanyang, family head of Star City's Lu family, greets the absolute beginning dominator. Zhao Hongtian, leader of the Sky Destroyer mercenary group, greets the absolute beginning dominator. Chide, sect master of the Sky Fragrance sect, welcomes the return of the absolute beginning dominator. Sush, 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 sush. Many heavenly star cultivators rushed to the flying ship and kowtowed to Jiang Tian. They cried tears of joy as if they had seen their savior. Chapter 1309. Now, Bai Zhe was severely injured. Kunling and the other two veteran Golden Core realm experts had either surrendered or had a vague attitude. Mieu, Jiang Haishan, and the other core members had fallen like rain. The stellar sky world had been retreating for almost a year, and finally, an expert had returned. Nobody knew who Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon was, but he had killed Golden Core cultivators as easily as crushing ants, so he should be a nascent soul overlord. However, he actually bowed and stood behind Jiang Tian like an old servant. Everyone could not help but look at Jiang Tian in a higher light. I'm Chen Feihong, the leader of the Flying Rainbow Bounty the Hunters. Lord, you're finally back. I've missed you so much. A coarse, large man flew over. He could topple a golden mountain and topple a jade pillar. He knelt on the ground and hugged Jiang Tian's calf, sobbing and complaining. Don't get your snot on me. Stand up and talk. Jiang Tian frowned and a gust of wind blew Chen Feihong a few hundred meters away. Chen Feihong got up and flew back to the ship. He looked angry, but he still smiled and said, "The Lord is back. We don't have to be afraid of the villains of Jade Lake anymore. These evil cultivators kill people like flax and occupy my territory. I'm in so much pain every day. I hate that I'm too weak and can't protect the people. The leader of the Chu Tian mercenary group said, "That's not right. Old Chin, I remember that you were the first to surrender when Jade Lake invaded." Nonsense. I did that to confuse the enemy and get information. I've been preparing for the return of the Lord every day, Qin Feihong said. Forget it. Jiang Tian waved his hand. These were all loose cultivators, free as clouds and wild cranes. If there was milk, they would be mothers. It was hard to guarantee their loyalty. So you're the lord of this world. I heard that you're an ant from Earth. How can you be so powerful? Long Yanan finally realized, but she didn't panic. Instead, she looked at Jiang Tian with interest, as if he were a monster. Even when Jiang Tian unleashed his full power, he was still a golden core cultivator. However, Jiang Tian was able to create a forbidden realm with a radius of 100 miles, which was far more powerful than a normal nascent soul stage cultivator and even comparable to a soul formation stage cultivator. She couldn't help but feel curious about Jiang Tian. You no longer have the chance to call me an ant. Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold. He did not show any mercy. With a flick of his finger, a finger light shot towards Long Yanan's forehead. My lord, please wait. The true dragon patriarch said with his divine sense, we still have great use for her. Jiang Tian's finger beam had reached a state where it could be retracted freely. It stopped a few inches away from the woman's dantian. You actually dare to kill me. But Long Yanan was already terrified to the point she was paralyzed on the ground. She looked at Jiang Tian with terror as if she was looking at a devil, and she shivered like a white rabbit under the mouth of a vicious wolf. Although she also wanted to live, she was filled with shock and fear. She no longer dared to threaten him like Duanmu Ci. This was because the only result of threats was death. This person in front of her was not afraid of anything. No matter who you were, he would kill you without hesitation. The true dragon patriarch bowed and said, this woman is the descendant of the Tsang Lan world's dragon gate. Her death is not regrettable, but she may be of great use. Moreover, there was no news just now. If we keep this woman, we can pass through the layers of checks and quietly enter Wild Wave City. We can directly behead her without letting any fish escape the net and finish the job in one fell swoop. Bitch, do you know what to do now? Jiang Tian looked at Long Yanan with cold eyes. Long Yanan's eyes turned. She had not decided whether to resist or not. Jiang Tian did not hesitate to slap her face. With a sound, blood spurted out from her nose. Her beautiful face was lacerated. He coldly shouted, what are you thinking about? Answer me. I know. Long Yanan's eyes were filled with astonishment as she covered her red cheeks. She was so angry that her teeth itched. She wanted nothing more than to swallow Jiang Tian alive, but she could only lower her head and agree. Serve me. You have no eyesight. Kuan Ling, Ku Hai, and Yuan Zihua, the three veteran Golden Core cultivators, were about to gather in Wild Wave City to hold a peace conference to discuss the ceasefire between Heavenly Star and Jade Lake World. Once the news spread, the entire Star World was shaken. I heard that Wild Wave City Lord Duanmu Ting will also attend the conference. How is this mediation? It's clearly coercion. How can we resist? If we don't go, we'll die. If we go, we can only surrender and become their lackeys, killing our own people. Now, only the border cities and the Demon Cave Mountain are still holding on, but I'm afraid it won't last long. Yes, after this conference ends, it will basically announce the complete fall of Star World. We'll become slaves of a fallen country. Many cultivators were boiling, as if they had lost their parents. Their eyes were filled with despair and sorrow. The mood of failure spread and shrouded them. Sigh, it's all Kong Teichu's fault. If he hadn't killed more than 400 heaven immortals in Qingqiu Mountain, we would still have a chance to resist. But now our vitality is greatly damaged. A cultivator wrung his wrist and sighed. Sigh, it's not as good as when Li Longyuan was in power. At least Yuan Zihua and the other two sincerely supported him, and there was still a chance of survival. Some people even missed Li Longyuan's benefits. It's useless even if Li Longyuan is here. The Jade Lake is a third-grade dimensional world. If they attack us, they will completely crush us. The outcome is already decided. Someone shook his head and smiled bitterly, as if he had seen through everything. 30 miles outside of Wild Wave City, on the treasure ship. Hee, no wonder Taoist Kuan Ling and the others are willing to be dogs. It turns out that they have been helped by the Jade Lake experts to reach the nascent soul stage. Jiang Tian lazily reclined on the brocade couch, eating grapes peeled by Long Yanen's bare hands. He casually flipped through Duan Muxi's soul and said with a smile. In addition, their descendants, Yuan Hongjue, Guang Kuan, and Master Diren, have all reached the mid-stage Golden Core stage and are ranked in the top 20 of the heroes list. They are also the only few people in Star World who are on this list. Duan Muxi's soul nodded and bowed. The Golden Core was only the crystallization of true essence. It provided energy for the physical body and the soul that relied on the physical body. However, if the Golden Core was destroyed, the soul could still exist for a period of time and could even take over the body with the help of secret Dharma treasures. At this moment, Duan Muxi's soul was trembling, afraid that Jiang Tian would kill it. If that happened, even the last shred of hope would be gone. Heroes list, what is that? Jiang Tian asked. This is the combat power list arranged by Master Bitter C and the other two elders. It has already replaced the prodigy list. It means that in troubled times, heroes will rise together. Only those who have reached the Golden Core stage can be ranked on it. The top 10 are all occupied by the Jade Lake experts. Duan Muxi's soul was very weak and faint. It trembled in the cold wind, extremely tormented and full of fear. Ding Lingdang was captured by you? Jiang Tian asked with a frown. Ding Lingdang was a fierce daughter of a general. Her personality was as upright and outspoken as Ding Lai, and she was very respectful to Jiang Tian. Back then, when the Stellar Sky Palace and the various armies were trying to kill Jiang Tian, she had risked many dangers and rushed to the Demon Cave Mountain to inform Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian had a very good impression of this woman. He did not expect that she would become Duan Muxi's prisoner and be tortured and humiliated by him. Yes, in the dungeon of the City Lord Mansion. Duan Muxi's soul said miserably. Good. You have guts. Jiang Tian said, good, 3 times, but his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. The terrifying killing intent swept through the entire ship like raging waves. It made Duan Muxi's soul and Long Yanen tremble as if they were sitting on pins and needles. They were nervous and uneasy. Jiang Tian's treasure ship came through the sky. In the sky, there were countless cultivators on flying swords, flying ships, and cloud buildings converging towards Wild Wave City. The gathering organized by the 3 veteran Golden Core experts attracted the attention of the entire Stellar Sky domain. In the core area of Wild Wave City, in the clouds. This inn was more than 3,000 meters tall, like a peerless heavenly sword, piercing the sky and revealing its sharpness. It was more than 300 meters tall, and even outside the city, it could be seen clearly. It was known as the tallest building in Stellar Sky Domain and was built in the last half a year. This inn was surrounded by auspicious clouds and spirit energy. There were many pavilions floating around the stairs, which looked very magical. This place was open to the public and was famous for squandering money, but even Foundation establishment experts did not dare to be presumptuous here. It was said that the Wild Wave City Lord, the Jade Pool Left Army General, and the nascent soul Duan Muting often came in and out of this inn and even lived here for a long time. Today's peace gathering was held here. The inn was octagonal, and each corner was a platform. Swoosh, swoosh. The cultivators were either on flying artifacts or flying swords. After going through strict checks, they entered the corresponding floors according to the location written on the invitation. No one dared to stop Jiang Tian's treasure ship, and it directly reached the top floor. Miss Long is here. I am the manager of Inn in the Clouds. Welcome, Miss Long. Your presence brings light to my humble abode. A manager wearing golden clothes, accompanied by a group of purple-clothed and green-clothed attendants, personally came to welcome and lead the way. He was respectful and reverent to Long Yanen as if he was seeing a goddess. Manager Jean is too polite. Long Yanan got off the treasure ship and smiled reservedly like a princess visiting incognito. Her eyes were high, and she spoke bluntly, making Manager Jean even more cautious. As for Jiang Tian, his hair had turned silver white, and his appearance had changed a lot. Ordinary people would not be able to recognize him and would only think that he and Zhenlong were Long Yanan's servants. Manager Jean led Long Yanan inside and asked curiously, "Fairy, why don't I see young Master Duanmu's figure?" Long Yanan's eyes were struggling, but she finally said indifferently, "On the way here, young Master Duanmu encountered a group of Heavenly God sect bandits and went to kill them. I was too lazy to wait, so I came here first. I don't need to report these matters to a small manager like you, right?" Chapter 13:10. That's true. Miss Long came to this remote place and must be tired from the long journey. Thank you. There's no need to care about those ants from the Heavenly God sect. Supervisor Jean said in a panic. There was a completely different world in the tower. They took out the entire spirit essence spring and used array discs to create fake mountains, strange rocks, and waterfalls. The ground was inlaid with gold and jade, and the jade table was filled with spirit fruits and immortal herbs. Many beautiful maids were standing there, and many of them had already reached the Qi refinement realm. Chen Liuhe and Duanmu Si really know how to enjoy themselves. Seeing this, even Long Yanan clicked her tongue. Outside the window, the clouds were rising, and the pavilions were faintly discernible. Maids wearing thin gauze with cold looks walked on the clouds, shuttling back and forth between the different pavilions. Beams of colorful spirit light shot up to the sky from different pavilions. Each beam of spirit light represented a golden core realm expert. Obviously, those who could come here were all important figures in the Heavenly Star domain and the Jade Lake realm. The star-picking pavilion was one of the best pavilions on the top floor of the pavilion in the clouds. Here, the new palace master of the Heavenly Star Palace, Yuan Hongjue, the new abbot of the devil-suppressing temple, Guang Kuan, the sect master of the Giant Sword sect, and other Heavenly Star talents were drinking and having fun with the young experts of the Jade Lake. These young experts all came from the Jade Lake Heavenly Monarch families or small dimensional worlds. Each of them was one of the top true disciples in their families. The most powerful one was already at the peak stage of the Golden Core realm and was not far from the nascent Soul realm. Great! Suddenly, a series of cheers sounded. Surprisingly, it was Yuan Hongjue who drank the wine in his cup in one gulp. His face was flushed red. The wine he drank was not ordinary wine, but the Thunder Dragon wine, brewed by a great demon in the Red Thunder Mountain. Blue lightning and fire intertwined in the wine, and the wine was sparkling like red agate. This lightning was taken from the chaotic thunder in the Red Thunder Mountain. Even a normal Golden Core realm expert couldn't withstand it and would be burned to ashes by the chaotic thunder. Only Yuan Hongjue, an outstanding Gold Core cultivator, would dare to drink it like wine. Yuan Hongjue was the direct descendant of Yuan Zihua. Now, with the help of the powerhouses from Jade Lake, he had reached the middle stage of the Gold Core realm. Moreover, he had condensed a 7th-grade Gold Core, which was comparable to the peak of the Gold Core realm. Even if Li Longyuan came back to life, he might not be able to defeat him. For example, the Taoist of Qingxian, who was killed by Jiang Tian, was only in the Foundation establishment realm. He was not even fit to carry Yi Futian's shoes. Big Brother Yuan, you're amazing. This woman was called Shi Ruoxue, a remnant of the Snake Desire sect. Back when Jiang Tian had ascended to the position of sovereign lord, he had purged the serpent sect. Although he had said that he would exterminate the entire sect, not even the chickens or dogs would be spared, he hadn't actually gone so far as to leave no survivors. This woman's cultivation was low, and she expressed her loyalty. Therefore, she became a fish that escaped the net. When the Jade Lake world invaded, it was necessary to create an atmosphere where the hearts of the people would submit to them. This was so that the descendants of the Jade Lake families would want to have a taste of the marrow. Therefore, they poured resources into cultivating them and pushed them to the early stage of the Gold Core realm. Later, they were made the sect leader of the Snake Desire sect. They reopened the sect and recruited disciples, which made the sect flourish. No, I'm not that amazing. It's all thanks to Big Brother Shen that I have today's cultivation. Yuan Hongjue held the wine cup with both hands and got up from his seat. He half knelt on the ground and proposed a toast to the man sitting at the head of the table. Without Big Brother Shen giving me elixirs and teaching me cultivation methods, how could I have today's cultivation? Big Brother Shen is my second parent. The man sitting in the middle was wearing a white robe with golden thorns. His hair was tied up with a golden crown, and his black hair was like a waterfall. He was handsome and tall, but his eyes were as sharp as a peerless heavenly sword. He was dazzling and emitted a powerful energy that could swallow mountains and rivers. No one could ignore his presence. To be able to sit in this pavilion, everyone's status was earth-shattering. With a stomp of their feet, they could cause the entire heavenly star realm to tremble. To be able to sit at the head of the table and look down on everyone else, one could easily imagine their status, power, and cultivation strength. He was the heir of the Shen family, a heavenly lord family above Jade Lake. His name was Shen Lang. He was the commander of the Middle Army, second only to the marshal. He could talk directly to Chen Liuha, the commander of the Jade Lake Army. He had a high status and powerful cultivation. His future was limitless. Although he was a junior, he was on par with Duanmu Ting, Duanmu Si's father. At the same time, he was also the most powerful person in the room. He was less than 30 years old and had already reached the peak stage of the Golden Core level. He was ranked 10th on the hero's roll. He was also the only person among the younger generation in the two worlds who had entered the top 10 of the hero's roll. Rumor had it that the nascent soul overlord in the army who could kill Golden Core cultivators without showing up was his master. Even Kuan Ling, Ku Hai, and Yuan Zihua had to be respectful when they saw him, not to mention Yuan Hongjue. I also heard that Yuan Hongjue became a Golden Core cultivator under Brother Shen's guidance. I thought it was just a rumor, but now I know it's true. In the seat, a man with a robust figure that was like a mountain of flesh, a full beard that was like a steel brush, a rough appearance, and was filled with a domineering aura, revealed his teeth that were like steel saws, and laughed in a muffled voice. He was the son of the commander of the Right Army, and his name was Hu Tenghai. He had the blood of the Emperor of Dragons and was as strong as a mountain. He was the top general of the Right Army and had a violent personality. He killed people without hesitation and released a bloodthirsty energy. Perfected immortal Shen Lang is really a god. It's difficult to form a Golden Core. It's harder to form a Golden Core cultivator in a day than to go to the 9 heavens. Everyone looked at Shen Lang with boundless adoration when they heard this, and they were like a true god that was full of flattery and not stingy with their praise. It's not all my credit. It's also because of little Yuan's hard work. On the other hand, Shen Lang smiled faintly, his lips lightly touching the cup. Brother, I wouldn't be here today without you. However, Yuan Hongjue's face was filled with pride. He thanked Shen Lang for giving him face and drank the cup in one gulp. At the same time, he reminded Shi Ruoxue, if you want to break through, you only need to serve young Master Shen Lang well. Shi Ruoxue walked towards him with a wine glass in her hand. She leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Young Master, if you can help me, I'll be young Master Shen's woman from now on." Shen Lang's eyes flashed with a trace of greed. He pinched her hand and laughed. "Today, come to my pavilion and dual cultivate with me. I'll help you reach the heavens." Everyone laughed. "Brother Shen, I've been stuck at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm for more than 3 years. When will you help me reach the late stage of the Golden Core realm and be called a perfected immortal? Of course, I can't dual cultivate with you." Hu Tsunghai drank the wine and laughed loudly. "Damn, Brother Tsunghai, if Brother Shen wants to eat you, he'll have to have a good appetite." Everyone laughed and drank the wine. The entire pavilion was jubilant. Shi Ruoxue and the other female cultivators tried to please Shen Lang, which made the party even more charming. At this moment, a man with an ethereal temperament, like a celestial being that had descended to the mortal world, sighed faintly and said, "We still have to work hard and cultivate diligently. I heard that Long Xingnan from the Hailan world has already formed her nascent soul after 3 years of seclusion. She's not even 30 years old, but she's already on the God of War list in the ruins of immortality. She's much stronger than us. I heard that she's now the elder of the Dragon Gate. Her disciples must be at least at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm and above. The one who spoke was Huangfu Pingtian, the son of the Lord of the 4th-level dimensional world under the Jade Lake. He was also a young general in the expedition army. He was in charge of intelligence and assassination. Although he was only at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, he was fast and proficient in assassination and ambushing. It was said that he was the one who killed Jiang Haishan. Long Xingnan, nascent soul, God of War list in the ruins of immortality. These words were so shocking that everyone fell silent. Everyone was shocked and envious. They seemed to have sobered up a bit. They had heard about this woman too many times in the past few days. This woman was famous in the 2nd-level dimensional world, Hailan world. They didn't expect her to have already formed her nascent soul. It was really shocking. Yuan Hongjue, Zen Master Diren, Guang Kuan and the others were all descendants of famous sections. With the help of the overlords of the Jade Lake, their cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. But after they truly understood the outside world, they knew that they were just frogs at the bottom of a well when compared to the real geniuses. They weren't worth mentioning at all. It was to the extent that even Shen Lang revealed a trace of envy and jealousy. But he quickly regained his calm. In the past, he was young and frivolous. He had once pursued Long Xingnan, but he was disgraced. Long Xingnan sent him flying 30 miles in the name of a spar. He was treated as a joke by everyone, and it was also the biggest regret in his life. Now, only Ding Lai and Bai Zhe are left. They are stubbornly defending the border city and the Demon Cave Mountain. I wonder what young Master Shen thinks? Huangfu Pingtian seemed to have noticed Shen Lang's displeasure. He didn't dare to talk about it anymore and quickly changed the topic. Who do the two of them think they are? Bai Zhe is only a demonic cultivator. He is already poisoned and can't fight anymore. Ding Lai is just at the early stage of the Golden Core realm. He is also like an ant trying to shake a tree. We just don't want to kill too many people. Otherwise, we would have flattened them long ago. We want to settle this matter peacefully. Shen Lang casually analyzed the current situation. He was imposing, his words were shocking, and his insight was unique. Everyone nodded their heads and agreed with him. As for Jiang Tian, they didn't mention him at all. As for the absolute beginning dominator, he is just an ant from Earth. He doesn't have any real skills. If I see him, I can kill him with one finger. After chatting for a long time, Shen Lang took a sip of the Thunderfire wine and casually commented. That's right. Instantly, there was a chorus of agreement. Most of these people had already entered the Golden Core realm. The young talents of the Jade Lake had even reached the early stage of the Golden Core realm or the peak Golden Core realm. Some of them even had superior grade Golden Cores. At this moment, they wouldn't take Jiang Tian, a mere foundation establishment overlord from Earth, seriously. Chapter 1311. Now, the news had spread that Bai Zhe had been tricked and controlled by Jiang Tian using the Starcrest feathered garment. If it wasn't for Bai Zhe, how could Jiang Tian, who was merely at the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm, be a match for Yuan Zihua, Kun Ling, and Monk Kuhai? When Bai Zhe appeared with tens of thousands of demon cultivators, Yuan Zihua and the other two didn't have the courage to fight with Jiang Tian. They bowed and surrendered. Along the way, even Jiang Tian's killing of Li Longyuan was either intentionally or unintentionally ignored, or it was still thought to be an opportunistic act. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was just a swindling clown who couldn't withstand a single blow. Compared to these geniuses, Kang Teichu is nothing. He's not even worthy of carrying their shoes. Shi Ruoxue shook her head with a look of disdain. Then she showed a bit of anger and thought, what a pity. It's a pity that Jiang Taichu has already fled back to Earth with his tail between his legs. If he were here, I would have already avenged my father. At this time, A maid in a palace dress suddenly walked in and spoke with her divine sense. Shen Lang stood up, scanned the surroundings and said seriously, "Miss Long Yanan is here. Let's go and welcome her. Remember, be careful with your words and actions and be 10 times more respectful. Otherwise, I won't be polite." When Long Yanan walked in, her peerless appearance, noble and reserved manner immediately subdued everyone. She was like a royal princess patrolling the place, making the beautiful female cultivators and maids look like fireflies. They couldn't compete with the sun and moon. She's indeed the true dragon goddess of the Hailan world. We can only look up to her. Yuan Hongjue's eyes widened as he exclaimed. As the descendant of Yuan Zihua and the leader of the new era in Star World, he had seen many beautiful female cultivators and had a good eye for beauty. However, this was the first time he had seen someone as radiant and beautiful as Long Yanan. The dragon clan was known as the true dragon raised by the ancient gods and was superior to ordinary dragons. Her beauty was unparalleled. Shen Lang greets Fairy Yanan. "Today, I can die without regrets after seeing Fairy Yanan's heavenly beauty." Shen Lang raised his cup in invitation, looking very humble. Shen Lang's and Long Yanan's cultivations were on par with each other. In fact, Shen Lang was even slightly higher than Long Yanan. However, Long Yanan came from a grade 2-dimensional world. Her background was monstrous and her reliance was enormous. She was not someone that Shen Lang could compare to. Elder brother Shen is right. Fairy Yanan is truly peerless and gorgeous. No one in Star World can compare to her. That's where you're wrong. Not to mention a remote place like Heavenly Star, even in the Jade Pool, Hailan, and many other worlds, how many people can compare? Many young geniuses cheered, and it was like a loser meeting a goddess, causing Shi Ruoxue and the other female cultivators to feel jealous in their hearts. "Greetings, fellow Taoists. You flatter me." Long Yanan smiled reservedly. She was charming and gorgeous, radiant and dazzling. However, it was as if there were needles pricking her back. She had to suffer in silence, unable to voice out her bitterness. She had been held hostage by Jiang Tian and was like a piece of meat under his knife. Jiang Tian didn't kill her for now. He just wanted to use her to attract more experts. In the end, he would brazenly draw his blade and kill all of them. However, who knew when Jiang Tian would be unhappy and kill her? She had carefully considered Jiang Tian's strength. He should be at the late-stage Golden Core realm or even the perfected stage. He wasn't invincible in Stellar Sky domain. However, the old servant behind him was at the nascent Soul realm. That big black dog was also unfathomable. This made things difficult. "Sister Yanan, come. Please take a seat. Let me introduce you to the elites from all walks of life." Huangfu Pingtian held his wine cup and welcomed her with a face full of joy. Even Shen Lang took the initiative to give up the seat of honor. He was very respectful and didn't dare to neglect or act rashly. "Senior, please take a seat." Unexpectedly, Long Yanan didn't take a seat. Instead, she bowed respectfully to Jiang Tian and let Jiang Tian take a seat first. When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but look at each other awkwardly. Jiang Tian used the secret art of the chaotic divine body to suppress his cultivation to the foundation-building realm. His aura didn't leak out at all. They couldn't see through Jiang Tian's real cultivation. Everyone guessed that he should be Long Yanan's follower. However, why was Long Yanan so respectful to him? "Girl, are you deliberately reminding them to be wary of me? If you don't want your divine soul to be destroyed, you'd better not act recklessly." Suddenly, there was a roar in Long Yanan's mind. She didn't know when, but a soul-devouring divine sense turned into an indomitable god fiend. It looked down at her divine soul and threatened her with a thunderous voice. "Yes, I understand." Long Yanan's divine soul trembled. She didn't expect Jiang Tian to see through her, but there was nothing she could do. Her face was pale. She lowered her head and didn't dare to say anything else. "You guys come too." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and found a seat casually. He then asked Patriarch Shenlong and the big black dog to join him. Seeing this, everyone was stunned again. Of course, they were full of respect and fear for Long Yanan. At the same time, They also thought more highly of Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian now asked a servant and even a dog to join him. This made them a little unhappy. They were young talents after all. They were heroes with noble identities and high positions. Their cultivations were powerful. It was fine for them to sit with a servant, but how could they sit with a dog? Was this a slap in the face? Everyone held back their displeasure and sat down while pinching their noses. Their faces didn't look good. Hu Songhai revealed a meaningful look and said in a mocking tone, "Fairy Yanin, you are the famous successor of the Dragon Gate. How can your servant's cultivation be so low? He is only at the early stage of the foundation establishment stage? He is so weak. How can you use him? How can he take on the great responsibility of protecting you?" Long Yanin no longer dared to hint at Jiang Tian's identity. She just sneered coldly and said, "That's right. You don't have to worry about who I use. What right do you have to interfere? You should know your own identity." Hu Songhai was scolded in front of his face like this. He was embarrassed to the extreme. His face turned red and he laughed embarrassedly. "Fairy Yanin, I am reminding you out of good intentions. After all, we haven't completely occupied this world. There are still remnants of the heavenly god sect causing trouble everywhere. It is best for Fairy to bring a few more reliable followers to be absolutely safe." "That's enough, Songhai." Shen Lang chuckled as he replied, "Fairy Yanin is at the late stage of the gold core stage. She is even stronger than you. In Star World, she can do whatever she wants. Does she still need any followers or guards? Don't talk nonsense and disturb her mood. Come, let us toast together and welcome the arrival of Fairy Yanin." At this time, Long Yanin only showed a slight smile in front of Shen Lang. She raised her cup and said, "Elder Brother Shen's achievements today are not simple. I have neglected you." She only opened her red lips slightly and took a sip. Shen Lang hurriedly raised his cup with both hands and drank it in one gulp. He smiled humbly and said, "Fairy Yanin, you flatter me. This little achievement is not worth mentioning." He deliberated his tone and said, "Inviting Fairy Yanin over is not only the intention of me and the Duanmu family, but also the intention of Heavenly Dao Sect's Zongzi, Chen Liuha." He spoke with fervor and assurance. Heavenly Star originally belonged to the Dragon Gate world. At the end of the day, it belongs to the Below Sea world and the Dragon Gate. However, not only did the Dragon Gate world not listen to orders and sent troops to take over this world, they even started a war with the Below Sea world. The Below Sea world is too far away to help, so our Jade Lake world will lend a hand. Once we take over Earth and fulfill the long-cherished wish of His Majesty, the Ruins Emperor, it will be a great achievement. It will shock the world and bring us great benefits. When the time comes, our Jade Lake and the Below Sea world will split the credit equally. What do you think, Fairy Yanin? So, you guys are behind this. At this moment, Jiang Tian glanced at Long Yanin with a half-smile, scaring Long Yanin so much that her delicate body trembled slightly. Patriarch True Dragon already had a look of worry on his face. The Dragon Gate world was his homeland, and his descendants were there. Was it already in the flames of war? Long Yanin's eyes struggled, but in the end, she smiled faintly and said with difficulty, "How to split the credit? Everything can be discussed. However, taking over Earth might not be as easy as you think, right? After all, that's the mother planet of the multidimensional worlds. I heard that many powerhouses have appeared. How can there be any powerhouses on Earth? They're all insignificant characters, like ants." Yuan Hongjue showed a look of disdain and said disdainfully, "Earth has already exhausted its spirit qi and has become a dead planet. It doesn't have the external conditions to produce powerhouses at all. Back then, my ancestor Yuan Tiangang could be called the Grand Preceptor when he came to this world. He could even make the Emperor of the Tang dynasty bow his head. Previously, there was someone called Kong Teichu who invaded this world. He was only at the Foundation Establishment stage and the Golden Core stage. He was only at the early stage of the Golden Core stage." Taoist Guang Kuan also said disdainfully, "He didn't have much strength at all. He was just fishing for fame." He was only at the foundation establishment stage and relied on all kinds of heaven-defying medicines such as the explosive energy pill to forcefully increase his cultivation. Later, he used despicable means to control Bai Zhe with the star-crowned feather coat. That was how he suppressed many powerhouses and became the ruler. Everyone nodded in agreement. He's only at the first level of the foundation establishment stage, and he has the nerve to call himself the ruler. How shameless! I can crush such a weakling with one hand. Hu Tsunghai's face was gloomy as he mocked. I heard that he's handsome and has delicate features. If he dares to come, I won't be willing to kill him. I'll take him as a boy toy and pamper him. Ha! No wonder you don't like me. It turns out that we have different interests. Everyone was complacent as they mocked and chuckled. If it wasn't for the presence of Long Yanan, who had a noble status, everyone would have laughed out loud. The big black dog stared at everyone without saying a word. His eyes were greedy, and saliva flowed out of his mouth. Today I can eat a golden core again, but this time I have to control it. I can't eat it raw. I have to let Master refine it into a spirit pill to taste better. You've gone too far. Ancestral Patriarch Zhenlong was so angry that his teeth chattered. He was about to explode. But at this time, Long Yanan suddenly stood up and slapped Hu Tsunghai's face. Chapter 13:12. Miss Long. Hu Tsunghai was sent flying more than 10 meters away and rolled on the ground. He covered his face and was at a loss. I've long disliked you. Long Yanan frowned and shouted angrily. If Kong Taichu is really not capable, how could he defeat Li Long Yuan? How can he be safe and sound after taking the explosive Yuan pill again and again? A foundation establishment cultivator is a weakling and you can crush him with your bare hands? My guard is also a foundation establishment cultivator. Are you scolding him? Apologize to him quickly. At this moment, she was scared out of her wits. Kong Taichu was right beside her. Why couldn't they recognize him? His cultivation level should be comparable to a late-stage golden core cultivator, and he killed Duanmu Ci with a finger. Jiang Tian's strength was terrifyingly powerful, and his attacks were ruthless and merciless. It already made Long Yanan's heart alarmed to the extreme. Senior, these juniors don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They have repeatedly spoken arrogantly and acted insolently. Please forgive them for offending you. After beating him up, Long Yanan immediately bowed to Jiang Tian with cupped fists and apologized solemnly. Looking at Long Yanan's panicked expression, everyone looked at each other in confusion. This foundation establishment cultivator is only your follower and is extremely ordinary. Do you have to give him face? Perhaps this foundation establishment cultivator has done Long Yanan a great favor before. Is she trying to repay him? Shen Lang was also confused. Maybe he's her pet. Shi Ruoshue's beautiful eyes darted around and found Jiang Tian very handsome. Jiang Tian nodded with a faint smile. Long Yanan's back was already drenched before she dared to sit down. At this moment, a commotion was heard. Someone sent a voice transmission with their spirit consciousness. Seniors Kun Ling, Ku Hai, and Yuan Zihua are here. They saw. Streaks of divine light that pierced through heaven and earth flew over. The aura of nascent soul cultivators soared into the sky like raging waves and spread in all directions. They have indeed entered the nascent soul realm. Alas, we don't even have a chance to resist. The crowd suddenly felt suffocated. Many people, except for the Jade Lake's powerhouses, were frightened and anxious. At this moment, the entire tower in the clouds fell silent. None of the cultivators present dared to utter a single word. Kun Ling, Ku Hai, and Yuan Zihua landed on a floating pavilion outside the building and stood proudly. Immediately, a terrifying amount of energy exuded naturally and engulfed all 9 heavens and all 10 hells. It was 100 times stronger than before. Every single move they made seemed to be in harmony with the Grand Tao, and they possessed copious and irresistible energy of the heavens and the earth as they looked down upon all the experts in the world. Thank you, fellow Taoists, for attending this peace gathering. This old monk greets you. Zen Master Bittersea's body was massive as he emitted a resplendent Buddhistic glow. He looked like a golden bodhisattva as he pressed his palms together and said with a benevolent expression, "Today, cultivators are gathered here to sign the armistice agreement with the Jade Lake world. Then we will attack those stubborn Bai Zhe and Ding Lai together." Yuan Zihua also spoke. His face was still lean and handsome, and he wore a loose robe with large sleeves. His aura was otherworldly and he spoke coldly. "After all, we are a high and mighty world. How can we submit to that ant from Earth, Kong Techu? Kong Techu is just a person who fishes for fame. Compared to the Jade Lake world's powerhouses, one is the sky and the other is the earth. As you can see, I am already at the nascent soul realm. The Jade Lake's powerhouses helped me break through the bottleneck of a few hundred years." Below the stage, many cultivators were dead silent. They gritted their teeth and their eyes were filled with anger, but they did not dare to say anything. Yes, the Jade Lake's powerhouses might be stronger than Kong Techu. However, Kong Techu did not invade or enslave Heavenly Star. Instead, he gave Heavenly Star sufficient power and even helped Heavenly Star develop. However, Jade Lake was different. They treated Heavenly Star's race like pigs and dogs, slaughtering them wantonly regardless of the reason. The Jade Lake's powerhouses announced that anyone who wanted to cultivate had to obtain the Jade Lake's permission. Otherwise, they would be killed without mercy. This was equivalent to cutting off the possibility of Star World's self-development. Only Yuan Zihua and a small group of cultivators were left to act as their lackeys, loyal and devoted, ensuring that their world would be stable forever. Now, they wanted everyone to stop fighting, sign a divine soul contract, and submit to the Jade Lake. This was equivalent to handing over their great world. "The few of us old fogies have advised you earnestly and kindly for the future of Heavenly Star Domain. I hope that everyone will give us some face." Patriarch Kuan Ling flaunted his seniority. Then, his voice turned cold, revealing his murderous intent as he said fiercely, "However, if you don't give me face, then you will be seen as the remnants of the Heavenly God sect, and everyone has the right to kill you. Don't worry, in my eyes, you are just mere ants. No one can escape." The entire place was dead silent. An old cultivator with white hair and hot tears in his eyes murmured sorrowfully, "We are meat on the chopping block. What can we do about it?" "Uncles, sign it. Otherwise, we will only die. This is the Jade Lake dimension. We are facing a nascent soul powerhouse." Someone sighed helplessly and said in despair. However, at this moment, a cold and sorrowful voice resounded throughout the entire building, reverberating through the entire Wild Wave City. "You see others as ants, but don't you know that in my eyes, you nascent soul and golden core realm cultivators are also ants? I can kill you with a raise of my hand. The enemy has invaded. As the legendary big shots of this world, you have the responsibility to protect your homeland. You should take the lead and fight to the death with the enemy. You cannot take a step back. What about you? Just for your own selfish interests, you are willing to hand over the foundation of your ancestors to others and become lackeys and slaves. You're still so complacent, bullying your own people, acting like a tyrant in your own nest, and calling yourself an ancestor. How shameless! More importantly, all three of you have inherited your cultivation from the Heavenly God sect. Bai Zhe is your master, and as the saying goes, a teacher for a day is a father for life. You actually dared to attack your master. You are worse than beasts." The voice was as cold as a knife and was like a cold wind from the depths of hell. It froze the world and made people's hearts tremble. Many cultivators looked at the sky and in the direction of the roof. They were terrified and said in a trembling voice, "Who dares to mock the three old monsters like this? They are rebelling and trying to poke a hole in the sky. Don't they know that Duanmu Ting is in Wild Wave City and tens of thousands of cultivators are waiting? He's simply courting death, he's courting death. There are golden core overlords upstairs." Countless people clicked their tongues in amazement, wondering if they were hallucinating. However, even more cultivators were extremely excited. Their eyes were filled with excitement as they clenched their fists and shouted, "Well said! This is so satisfying. These old bastards are shameless. They have forgotten who they are after being dogs for Jade Lake for a few days. It could be said that they had been bullied badly by Kuan Ling and the other powerhouses. Their cultivation techniques and cultivation resources were stolen, and some of their fellow disciples were even killed. In fact, Kuan Ling and the other two even had thoughts of killing all of them. They only wanted to use them as cannon fodder and let them fight amongst themselves with Bai Zhe and Ding Lai. They could not resist the power of Kuan Ling and the other two new nascent soul cultivators and were at the mercy of others. They had suffered too much injustice. At this time, Jiang Tian had said all the things that they didn't dare to say. How could they not feel delighted and delighted? Kuan Ling and the other two exchanged glances and revealed angry expressions. However, they did not attack rashly. This is strange. The voice came from Star Picking Pavilion. However, everyone in the pavilion is our direct descendant and esteemed guests of Jade Lake. Why would they say such things? Hurry and check what's going on. How dare they disrupt the gathering? Aren't they undermining us? Seniors, please forgive us. At that moment, Supervisor Jean was flustered and sent a voice transmission with a trembling voice. It's been investigated. It's the follower of Long Yanan, the successor of the Dragon Gate of Sea Billow World. Perhaps he was drunk and spoke arrogantly. Senior, don't worry. I've already activated the soundproof array. There won't be any more accidents. Oh, so it's the Dragon Gate. The powerhouses on the hero's roll are all there. I don't think there will be any accidents. Let's continue. Yuan Zihua and the other two exchanged glances and were relieved. Yuan Zihua forced a smile and scanned the crowd. Just now, a friend drank too much and was joking with everyone. Please don't take it to heart. In the cultivation world, the strong are respected and the weak are ants. We only respect strength. Bai Zhe is just a demonic beast with the strength of a nascent soul cultivator. To put it bluntly, it's just a beast. How can it be superior to you and me? In the Heavenly Star Pavilion, everyone's expressions had turned ugly. The atmosphere was also very strange. There was even a cold, murderous intent in the air. Even the air had become heavy and austere. Hu Songhai slammed the table and was the first to speak. Fairy Yanan, your follower is too insensible. He let this big black dog in. He didn't follow the rules and didn't differentiate between the seniors and the juniors. It's fine if he treats us as nothing. After all, it's just a small matter and not a big deal. We'll give you face and let it go. But the three nascent soul cultivators are now threatening and tempting the Heavenly Star cultivators. This is related to the success or failure of our 100-year-old plan. It's related to whether we can smoothly take over the billions of territories of the Heavenly Star domain. How can we let a mere foundation-building follower interfere? Everyone here is a Golden Core Realm expert, a big shot of a region, in existence on the hero ranking. A mere servant like him dares to speak irresponsibly and spout such nonsense. He truly doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. At this moment, Shen Lang, Huangfu Pingtian, Yuan Hongjue, and the other geniuses and juniors were all frowning and examining Jiang Tian. They had already sensed something fishy. Who is he exactly? Where is he from? Everyone was puzzled. This person was called a follower, but Long Yanan accompanied him so carefully and treated him with such respect. No, this was no longer respect, but fear and apprehension. This was too abnormal. Could it be that he wasn't Long Yanan's follower at all, wasn't everyone's friend, but everyone's mortal enemy? Chapter 1313. Long Yanan remained calm as if she didn't hear Hu Songhai's question. She picked up the cup with her slender hand and sipped the tea with her red lips. She said lightly, I don't care what he does. Everyone glared angrily at Jiang Tian. Those old guys outside also said that we don't care about seniority and rules. We only care about strength, right? Jiang Tian's face was calm as he smiled and said, in my opinion, it's an honor for me to talk to you and comment on the war in this world. It's also an honor for Tianxing and Jade Lake. Who do you think you are, Hu Songhai? You're just a golden core cultivator, a pig or a dog. Why are you barking here and not letting me speak? Everyone could hardly believe their ears. You're just a foundation establishment cultivator. How dare you mock a golden core cultivator as a pig or a dog? Do you want to die? How dare you call me a dog? I'm only showing you some respect because you're Miss Long's follower. If I don't respect you, you're just a foundation establishment weakling. I can turn you into meat paste with one hand. Hu Songhai was so angry that his eyes almost popped out. He shouted angrily, and sparks flew from the friction between his sharp teeth. He couldn't wait to tear Jiang Tian into pieces and eat him alive. He shouted angrily, and the pressure of a golden core cultivator spread in all directions. His thick true essence was like a stormy sea, vast and boundless. Suddenly, the whole attic was whistling and cracking sounds were heard. If it weren't for the magic power flickering on the floor and walls, the attic would have been torn to pieces. Hu Songhai was so powerful that many of the foundation establishment and chi refinement level maids could not withstand it and staggered backward. Even if they mobilized their true essence, they couldn't resist. But this time, Long Yanan was uncharacteristically calm and didn't speak up for Jiang Tian. Shen Lang sensed a trace of abnormality. He asked Long Yanan again with his divine sense but didn't get a reply. He couldn't help but be more suspicious. Finally, his eyes flashed and he said lightly, "Fairy Yanan, your follower insulted the powerhouses of Jade Lake. If we don't teach him a lesson, how can we show our face? If you can teach him a lesson, then go ahead. I've said it before, what he does has nothing to do with me, and I can't do anything about it." Long Yanan giggled as a sly look flashed across her eyes, revealing her shiny sharp canine teeth. If Jiang Tian hadn't fought with them, if there hadn't been chaos, how could she have taken the opportunity to escape? She would have completely become a little white rabbit in Jiang Tian's hands. Now that the three nascent soul eccentrics had arrived, she believed that the possibility of them suppressing Jiang Tian was very high. At the very least, they could create chaos and give him a chance to escape. Therefore, she couldn't wait for Jiang Tian to fight with them. Shen Lang was just testing the waters. If Long Yanan insisted on speaking up for Jiang Tian, he would not dare to provoke her. However, when he tried, he found that Long Yanan seemed to be estranged from this follower. She even hoped that he would attack this follower. In addition, Supervisor Jean had reported that Duan Muxiai could not be contacted. He already felt that something was wrong. However, until now, he still hadn't connected Jiang Tian with the Taichu Dominator. He only thought that Jiang Tian was a cultivator from Heavenly Star who had come to stir up trouble. "Teach me a lesson?" Jiang Tian glanced at everyone with a smile and said, "Hurry up and attack. Everyone, hurry up and make your move. I can't wait to twist your heads off and kick them around like balls. This guy doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth." If I didn't know that he was Miss Long's follower, I would have thought that Chen Liuhe was here. Even Chen Liuhe wouldn't dare to fight with so many golden core perfected immortals at the same time. Why don't you think about who's behind them? Many people gasped, some shook their heads and sighed, some were dumbfounded, and some were gloating. At this time, everyone was looking at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a dead man. Among them were the heirs of the three nascent soul eccentrics in Heavenly Star, the son of the Dominator and the heir of the Heavenly Lord families. Jiang Tian's words were equivalent to declaring war on Heavenly Star and the Jade Lake. He was so arrogant that there was no end to it. He's digging his own grave. He can't even defeat a weak girl like me, let alone the other elites. Even Shi Ruoxue was full of sarcasm. After all, she had entered the golden core level, while Jiang Tian was just an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator. He couldn't withstand a single blow. At this time, Shen Lang, Huangfu Pingtian, Yuan Hongjue, Guang Kuan and Zen Master Diren all looked gloomy and murderous. "Great. Kid, you said that you only talked about strength and treated me like a dog. Let me see how good you are." Hu Songhai roared as he leaped up like a ferocious tiger leaping out of the mountains, punching out from above. This punch was like a missile. Dragon rhino patterns appeared on his arm and fist. This was the result of the bloodline awakening and was extremely powerful. His dantian rumbled and his golden core trembled. Violent true essence surged out and formed a 5-meter dragon rhino shadow. Its curved horns were like peerless heavenly swords, as if they could tear the sky apart and smash mountains into pieces. Although this building was dozens of meters tall and extremely spacious, at this moment, the vast fist force and violent dermic powers filled the entire building and tore the void apart. At this moment, the sky changed color as if the sun and the moon were upside down. The fist was as heavy as a mountain and it smashed towards Jiang Tian's face. Being affected, the numerous talisman formations in the entire pavilion were activated and flickered indeterminately, emitting boundless radiance that illuminated the entire pavilion. He's definitely going to die. Brother Songhai's punch is enough to kill an early-stage golden core cultivator. How can he withstand it? Yuan Hongjue and the others were full of mockery. No matter where Jiang Tian came from, he didn't come with good intentions. However, a mere foundation establishment cultivator dared to enter the tiger's den. He was courting death. Chen Lang's eyelids drooped as he raised the white jade wine jug and poured the sparkling and translucent wine into his cup. The outcome was obvious, and he couldn't be bothered to take another look. True dragon, kill him, Jiang Tian said. The stooped true dragon ancestor, whose eyes were cloudy and aged, suddenly stood up. At this moment, ancestral patriarch True Dragon's energy rose rapidly from the foundation establishment cultivator to the golden core cultivator and then to the nascent soul cultivator. He was like a peerless heavenly sword that had suddenly been unsheathed, revealing its sharpness and ghastly killing intent. Oh no! At this moment, everyone present was shocked, and their hearts were filled with warning signs. Hu Songhai's eyes almost popped out. Before the fist chi and dharma power completely exploded, he retreated in the air. But it was too late. Ancestral patriarch True Dragon grabbed and destroyed Hu Songhai's indestructible dharma power. His body was torn apart and the blood-stained golden core jumped out of his dantian and flew into ancestral patriarch True Dragon's hand. Plop! A cloud of blood sprayed out and filled the air. Hu Songhai fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. Even his divine soul had been captured by ancestral patriarch True Dragon. Ancestral patriarch True Dragon threw the golden core to the black dog. Then he swung his palm and slapped down on Hu Songhai's body without holding back. Bang! With a muffled sound, the star-picking pavilion shook violently as if it were about to collapse. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Hu Songhai's body exploded. Blood and broken bones splashed everywhere and even his divine soul disappeared. What? Everyone was dumbfounded as if they had seen a ghost. They couldn't believe it and cold sweat ran down their backs. Hu Songhai, the #1 valiant general of the Right Army, was slapped to death by an unknown old servant dressed in cyan? Was the heir of one of the 4 heavenly lord families of the Jade Lake and a golden core overlord who was ranked 15th on the Tianxing elite's roll so useless? At this moment, even Huangfu Pingtian and Yuan Hongjue were speechless. Even Xin Lang, who had been drinking calmly, became serious. As for Shi Ruoxue, she was a female cultivator and her face turned pale. She screamed and her body trembled. How dare you? How dare you kill someone here? For you. Shen Lang slowly put down the wine cup, and his gaze was cold like steel needles as he stared at Jiang Tiandao. You don't have the right to know who I am. Everyone here will die today. Jiang Tian's expression was calm, and his tone was neither warm nor angry, as if he could really control everyone's life and death. Very well. Shen Lang was so angry that he laughed. His eyes were filled with black light and a dharma form appeared behind him. It was a 1,000-tailed black fox. This black fox had 1,000 tails and was like a Buddha with 1,000 hands. Its energy filled the entire hall as if it were going to crack the air. The bloodline of the 1,000-tailed black fox. The Jade Lake was a place where humans and monsters lived. He had the pure bloodline of the 1,000-tailed black fox and could form a superior-grade golden core. Right now, he revealed his dharma projection. He was already furious to the extreme. He planned to use all of his strength to kill Jiang Tian and the True Dragon. Brother Shin, you don't have to do it yourself. I'll kill him. Yuan Hongjue stepped forward and said lightly. Yuan Hongjue, Yuan Zihua, and the entire Yuan family were able to become stronger because of the help of Xin Lang and the overlords of the Jade Lake. He still hoped to enter a higher-level world or even the ruins of deity, so he had to rely on Xin Lang. You're the one who doesn't know what's good for you. Do you still want to fight with me? Jiang Tian was calmly sipping his tea. His face was full of disdain and mockery, and he didn't even bat an eyelid. Chapter 13-14. Cultivators don't rely on external objects or the help of other cultivators. Relying on others is ultimately unorthodox. If you have the guts and the ability, don't rely on the evil servant. Give me the next chance to learn from you. Yuan Hongjue snorted arrogantly. Everyone's eyes lit up as they sighed inwardly at Yuan Hongjue's crafty nature. Jiang Tian, who had stirred up trouble today, was unforgivable. However, the green-robed old servant was obviously the stronger one. In their opinion, Jiang Tian's cultivation was not very strong, and he would be easy to take down. Yuan Hongjue had not only taken down a pushover, but he had also made a great contribution and would be highly regarded by Xin Lang and the other Jade Lake cultivators. Sure. Jiang Tian's eyes were filled with mockery. Swish. As soon as Yuan Hongjue attacked, 8,000 thin flying swords appeared. These flying swords were extremely small and as thin as silver scales, but they were densely packed and innumerable. Many flying swords grew larger in the wind and flew toward Jiang Tian, giving him a feeling that he could not dodge. Interesting. Didn't I comprehend this from my 10,000 swords attack? Although I didn't master the essence of it, it is somewhat similar. Jiang Tian laughed loudly. Suddenly, he stomped the ground and spat out a word. Seal. Boom. In an instant, Yuan Hongjue felt that the air had frozen. With Jiang Tian as the center, all the primordial qi within 1,000 meters of him had turned into an iron plate. He felt as if he was being pressed down by a mountain. No, to be exact, it was more like he was being pressed down by a vast continent, and he couldn't even move a finger. The thousands of flying swords that he had released were like a basin of water that had been splashed in the air. They were motionless like statues, and they couldn't even cut off a strand of hair on Jiang Tian's head, let alone kill him. It was actually his sword qi that shot into the sky that had been completely restrained by the restricted area, and it was unable to utilize even the slightest bit of destructive force. You are a nascent soul cultivator. How is this possible? Yuan Hongjue was horrified and thought in his mind. Swish. In the dead silence, an almost inaudible sharp sound reverberated in his mind. Yuan Hongjue noticed that the scenery that had been fixed in place suddenly moved. No, it was more accurate to say that his brain moved. As the world spun, he saw billowing waves of blood spurting out of his headless corpse's neck. Then he saw Jiang Tian grab his blood-stained golden core and throw it to the big black dog. There's actually such a young nascent soul stage cultivator in this world. Who could it be? Yuan Hongjue's heart was still filled with shock and bewilderment, and he didn't even have the time to feel regret and despair before his vision turned black, and he fell into eternal silence. He used Forbidden Domain. I also felt like I was frozen. Heavens, he's actually a nascent soul cultivator. When Jiang Tian's restricted area dispersed, everyone finally recovered their freedom, but all of them were drenched in cold sweat, anxious, and fearful. The situation took a sudden turn for the worse. When Jiang Tian attacked, it was a forbidden area. Only nascent soul stage cultivators could use this forbidden domain. That was enough to stun everyone. At this moment, they didn't dare to underestimate Jiang Tian at all. Instead, they panicked and were filled with fear and disbelief. In fact, Yuan Hongjue, who was killed by Jiang Tian, was even weaker than Hu Canghai. However, the shock brought about by this battle was even more terrifying. The reason was simple. Jiang Tian had used the Forbidden Domain, which was the symbol of a nascent soul stage heavenly lord. Everyone's hearts trembled violently and cold sweat flowed down their backs. They felt that they were extremely unlucky to have encountered such an overlord. At this moment, not to mention Diren, Guangkuan, Shi Ruoxue, even Huangfu Pingtian was frightened. He's so powerful. Evil. Shen Lang's expression could not help but become unprecedentedly solemn as he sized up Jiang Tian with a trace of caution. No, he's still a golden core cultivator. It can't be fake. However, he should have some kind of secret confinement technique. With the power of control, he can forcefully simulate the power of the forbidden domain. He carefully recalled the feeling of confinement brought about by Jiang Tian. Finally, he shook his head decisively. His face became contemptuous again, and a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Some talented golden core stage cultivators could also use the power of space. However, they could only control a radius of tens of meters, as if it was in the palm of their hand. That was why it was called control. Indeed, Jiang Tian's forbidden domain was different from ordinary forbidden domains. However, it wasn't a low-level control like he thought. It was a domain of a higher level. However, Shen Lang was extremely talented and had an unparalleled bloodline. Since he made his debut, his name had shaken the Jade Lake world. At such a young age, he had achieved great fame. He had even created a forbidden technique that allowed him to escape from a nascent soul stage expert's forbidden domain when he was sparring with a nascent soul stage cultivator. After coming to the Stellar Sky domain, he had been unstoppable and had never been defeated. It was easy for him to destroy cities and countries. He came to the Stellar Sky domain with a sense of superiority. It was like how white people looked at black people. No, it was like how humans looked at kittens and puppies. He didn't care about anyone at all. If he was scared and didn't dare to fight again just because Jiang Tian killed Yuan Hongjue, then he wouldn't be Shen Lang. He wouldn't be a true disciple of a heavenly monarch family. I didn't expect that in the Stellar Sky domain, there would be a golden core perfected immortal other than Kuan Ling and Ku Hai. Unfortunately, you have offended me today. You are destined to die here. Shen Lang pushed away the cup and plate, stood up, and took a step forward, closing in on Jiang Tian. His eyes were black like sharp swords. His essence chi boiled and turned into a thousand-tailed black fox law phase that was tens of meters tall. Its many tails swept across the sky, as if it wanted to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. This pavilion was very tall and wide. It was tens of meters tall, and it was originally very spacious. However, it was now filled with the thousand-tailed black fox law phase. Jiang Tian seemed extremely small and insignificant in the face of this majestic and tall Dharma idol. This guy is definitely going to die. Even if he can use the forbidden zone for a while, he won't be able to stop Brother Shen's thousand-tailed restriction-breaking technique. Those who were able to step into this pavilion were all experienced and knowledgeable people. They were all Golden Core Realm cultivators who were famous on the heroes ranking. Their eyes were extremely sharp, and many people had such thoughts in their minds. It could be said that unless a real nascent soul realm cultivator attacked, no one could block Shen Lang's law phase attack. No matter how strong Jiang Tian was, he was only a first-stage Golden Core Realm cultivator. How could he be a match for Shen Lang, who had mastered the forbidden breaking technique? You talk too much. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered with this. He directly slapped out. Clang. This slap was like a continent pressing down, causing the essence chi in the air to explode. It was aimed at Shen Lang's head. What? Shen Lang was shocked. He felt a vast force of the forbidden zone freezing him and the essence chi around him. He couldn't use the thousand-tailed restriction-breaking technique at all. It was as if his tail was pinned in the air by invisible steel nails. He couldn't move at all. The tearing pain almost made him cry. Under this indestructible forbidden zone, he couldn't even move his little finger. He could only watch as the giant slap came down. This was because not only was he frozen by the forbidden zone, even Huangfu Pingtian was frozen. He couldn't help Shen Lang at all. With a loud bang, the indestructible thousand-tailed black fox shattered like a piece of paper. Shen Lang was slapped to the ground like a toad. Clang. A human-shaped hole appeared on the jade floor, which was engraved with many runes and talisman arrays and could withstand the attack of a golden core cultivator. Shen Lang was slapped to the ground and broke through 99 floors. He was slammed from the top floor all the way to the bottom floor. He was dozens of meters underground. At this moment, many geniuses and prodigies in the pavilion opened their eyes wide. They looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a devil. Shen Lang was the only demon on the hero roll who had entered the top 10. His strength made many of the older Golden Core Realm cultivators look at him in a different light. But just like that, he had been crushed by this young man with an ordinary bloodline. Why did it feel like he was swatting a fly? It was so effortless. Could he be a nascent Soul Realm old monster? Long Yanan, Huangfu Pingtian, and the other experts on the heroes list narrowed their eyes when they saw this. They were the only ones who could feel the terrifying power of Jiang Tian's Forbidden Zone. Under Jiang Tian's Forbidden Zone, even Huangfu Pingtian, who had the fastest movement technique, couldn't escape. Who is he? How could there be such a young expert in the stellar sky domain? Could he be an expert from the sea below world? Everyone was bewildered. However, after Jiang Tian's chaotic divine body was formed, his appearance changed again. He was as handsome as a god. Especially now, he deliberately created a head of white hair. It was silver and sparkling, which added a sense of vicissitudes and mysteriousness to him. They couldn't recognize him at all. A mere Foundation establishment realm ant dares to speak rudely to my master. Now, do you understand who the ant is? The big black dog licked Yuan Hongjue's blood-stained golden core with his tongue as if he was licking ice cream. He said with a mocking expression, "Big black dog." Zen Master Diren's pupils suddenly contracted. He looked at Jiang Tian and said to Guang Kuan, "Didn't you notice that this person looks like the one who left 3 years ago? He was the personal disciple of Zen Master Shixiang and the current abbot of the Devil-Suppressing Temple." He had seen Jiang Tian from afar on Qingqiu Mountain. Now, he felt like he had seen him before. Could it be him? Kongfu. Hearing this, Guang Kuan was also shocked. The muscles at the corner of his eyes twitched as if he was facing a great enemy. His face turned ugly. Chapter 13-15. Back then, almost all of the giant sword sex experts had been killed by Jiang Tian, leaving a deep scar in his heart. If not for his ancestor, Patriarch Kuan Ling, and Jiang Tian's mercy, the giant sword sect would have been wiped off the face of the earth. At the time, Jiang Tian had led a 100,000-strong army of demons, blotting out the sun and suppressing Qingqiu Mountain. That peerless grace and invincible dominance still left him shuddering, suffocating, and unable to eat or sleep in peace when he recalled it. It can't be him. Guang Kuan clenched his fists and made up his mind. He was only at the early-stage Foundation establishment realm back then. It hasn't even been 3 years since then. How can he reach the Golden Core realm and even have the battle power of a nascent soul realm cultivator? This is impossible. In fact, not only him, but everyone in the stellar sky domain who knew Jiang Tian felt that it was impossible. This cultivation speed was too fast. Even if they were extremely talented and had the support of the Jade Lake world, they could not reach this speed. Rumble. The moment Jiang Tian slapped Shen Lang, the entire inn in the clouds shook violently as if it was going to fall apart. Everything within a 10-mile radius was shaking. Shen Lang was slapped down. How can this be? He's the 10th on the hero roll. Who did it? At this moment, the cultivators on the various levels of the inn in the clouds and the surrounding floating lofts were all shocked. They all looked in the direction of the Zhai Xing Lu. Good. The absolute primordium sovereign has finally made his move. He knocked Shen Lang down with a single slap. What powerful strength! The sovereign is indeed the sovereign. Our stellar sky domain is saved. Chen Feihong, Zhao Hongtian, and the other stellar sky domain cultivators who had met Jiang Tian before looked at each other. They clenched their fists again and looked excited. However, they did not dare to make a fuss. Rumble. The ground shook like the skin of a drum. Everything within a 10-mile radius was shaking. Suddenly, a huge hall 10 miles away from the inn in the clouds collapsed. Rocks flew into the air and shot in all directions. A huge pit with a radius of 1 mile appeared on the ground. An earth-shattering black rainbow shot into the sky from the entrance of the cave. The black ray of light shot out like a soaring dragon, dragging a long tail behind it. In an instant, it broke through the clouds and shot to the same level as the top floor of the tower in the clouds, revealing Xin Lang's figure. However, Xin Lang was currently in a miserable state. His clothes were tattered and stained with blood, but his aura and murderous intent were even stronger. "Bastard, how dare you attack me? Come out and fight me!" His dantian trembled and roared, completely activating his hidden bloodline. The Dharma form of the thousand-tailed black fox, which was 1,000 meters tall, burst out. Its huge tails danced in the air like dragons, and its vertical pupils were demonic and terrifying. At this very moment, when Zen Master Bitter C saw this, he frowned and sent a voice transmission with his spiritual perception. "Shui Xin, Manager Jean, what happened at Star Picking Tower?" Shen Lang's gaze was extremely venomous. He was fuming as he stared fixedly at the Zhai Xing Pavilion and did not reply. Supervisor Jean sent a message with his divine sense, filled with terror. "3 old monsters, this is bad." Long Yanan brought a follower and killed the 2 heroes, Hu Tsunghai and Yuan Hongjue. At this moment, he used a sealing power to seal the entire pavilion. "We can't enter, and neither can our spiritual perception." "What? Long Yanan brought someone here? What does she mean? She wanted to form an alliance and support us. Why did she attack us?" Hearing this, Zen Master Bitter C and Patriarch Kunling were both shocked and furious, but they did not dare to act rashly. Long Yanan had a noble status and held a high position. She was the daughter of the Dragon Sect Master of the Billow World. Her sister was the famous Long Xing'an. She was powerful and extremely talented. She was listed on the God of War list and had many friends in the Ruins of Immortality and many followers. Therefore, with Long Yanan's background, even Duanmu Ting and Chen Liuhe would not dare to offend her rashly. Can the Billow World bully others like this? Daoist Chen, no matter what, you have to uphold justice. When he heard that Yuan Hongjue had died tragically, Yuan Zihua's heart ached to the extreme. His handsome face was gloomy and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He clenched his teeth so hard that they almost shattered. "There's something fishy about this." Shen Lang stared at the Zhai Xing Pavilion, his eyes flashing. He said coldly, "This person is most likely not Long Yanan's follower. He's holding her hostage and harboring evil intentions. Also, Duanmu Ci, who went to welcome Long Yanan, has not returned yet. I'm guessing that something bad has happened to him." What? Kuan Ling, Yuan Zihua and the others were shocked. They could not believe it at all. If Long Yanan was held hostage, the matter would be blown out of proportion. If she was killed, the Dragon Sect would be enraged. The entire Jade Lake and Star World would not be able to bear the consequences. "Surround him." Shen Lang frowned and sent a voice transmission with his divine will. Yuan Zihua and the other 2 nascent soul cultivators scattered around the Zhai Xing Pavilion and surrounded it with Shen Lang. The 3 nascent soul cultivators and one of them was a perfected golden core cultivator with a 7th grade golden core, which was comparable to a normal nascent soul cultivator. Right then, they joined forces to surround Jiang Tian and kill him. Their vast and terrifying Dharma power surged and lingered in the air, intertwining with each other like a giant net covering the sky. Not even a fly could fly out. Zen Master Bitter C sat cross-legged in the air and shouted loudly, "Who dares to disturb the order here? Do you want to die? Come out, I'm here to convert you." His body was huge and his Dharma power was deep. His entire body emitted a bright and dazzling Buddhist light, as if he was a great Buddha. As he shouted, the aura of a nascent soul cultivator spread out like waves, shaking the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The air shook violently and Yunzhong Tower shook violently, as if it was about to collapse. "My friend, as a man, you should be able to support the world. Why are you making things difficult for a weak girl? If you have the guts, come out and fight with us." Kuan Ling stepped on a giant sword that was like a door plank and said with a mocking expression, trying to provoke Jiang Tian to come out. Yuan Zihua did not say a word and stood with his sword in hand. However, his killing intent was surging and his eyes were filled with hatred. He was waiting for the culprit to come out and kill him immediately. There was dead silence in Jai Xing Pavilion and there was no reply for a long time. The thousands of cultivators present did not say a word. The entire place was silent and it was as if everything had stopped. Only the cold wind blew and let out sharp whistling sounds. All the cultivators of Yunzhong Tower stood there like wooden statues and looked up. Even the billions of living beings in Wild Wave City were staring at Jai Xing Pavilion anxiously. Amidst the silence, the atmosphere was murderous and extremely heavy. Everyone was even able to hear the rise and fall of heartbeats and rapid breathing. You haven't dared to show yourself for a long time. Could it be that you're afraid? Yuan Zihua sneered through gritted teeth. However, before he could finish his sentence, all of a sudden, there was a boom. An earth-shattering explosion shook everyone's hearts. Under the dumbfounded gazes of tens of millions of people, the Jai Xing Pavilion that could withstand the attacks of a golden core overlord exploded like a piece of paper and only a smooth platform was left. Rolling airwaves with tables, chairs and building debris formed circles of white clouds that kept spreading in the air. 1 mile, 3 miles, 10 miles. Finally, it covered the entire Wild Wave City. At this moment, vast and surging immortal energy was like a tempestuous wave that slapped onto the shore, like a meteor that soared through the sky, and it blasted Yuan Zihua and the others to the point they were like withered leaves in the wind as they were blasted 500 kilometers away before they were barely able to stabilize themselves. Countless people looked up in fear. They saw a tall figure with a white jade wine pot in his left hand and a cup of thunderfire wine in his right hand. He took a sip and walked out step by step in the air with black hair and black eyes. His figure was like a precipitous and lone peak, and his aura was faint and indistinct like the eternal blue sky. His perfect and handsome face emanated a gentle divine radiance while his eyes flickered with divine radiance. He was like a true god that had descended to the mortal world, and his might suppressed the world and shook the world. Esti, Kongfu. Yuan Zihua's pupils constricted and he gasped as if he was facing a great enemy. Jiang Tian's appearance had changed and his hair was white. Others might not be able to recognize him, but how could he hide from the eyes of an old monster like Yuan Zihua? After all, a person's appearance could be changed, but their aura, gaze, expression and habitual actions were already ingrained in their bones and could still be recognized. Yuan Zihua had once been an enemy of Jiang Tian, then submitted to Jiang Tian and betrayed him in the end. Yuan Zihua had studied Jiang Tian for too long and knew Jiang Tian's every move like the back of his hand. Even if Jiang Tian wore a Dharma artifact mask or was burned to ashes, he would still recognize him. Other than Xin Lang, who only revealed a surprised expression. Patter. Ku Hai and Kun Ling's eyes were filled with fear and their faces were pale. They subconsciously took a few steps back and trembled as if they had seen a demon. It wasn't that they thought they couldn't defeat Jiang Tian. It was because Jiang Tian's domineering style and ruthless methods in the past had left a deep impression on them. If not for the fact that their opponent was an expert of Jade Lake and the difference in strength was too great and they were tempted, they would definitely not have betrayed Jiang Tian. Kong Teichu is back. How dare he return? The war has begun. The war has finally begun. At this moment, many cultivators, mortals, and demons around the inn in the clouds raised their heads and looked up in anticipation. No matter what, Jiang Tian was the ruler of this world. Now that his territory was occupied and a strong enemy had invaded, there was no way both sides could reconcile peacefully. Furthermore, Jiang Tian's appearance at the peace gathering, mocking and killing was a clear indication of his attitude. The conflict between both sides was irreconcilable and an unprecedented war was about to break out that no one could stop. It could be said that the entire Wild Wave City was boiling like ice that was thrown into a pot of hot oil and was on the verge of exploding. In fact, the news had already spread like a hurricane towards Star Capital, Floating Spear and other cities at lightning speed, sweeping through the entire star world. Why are you guys trembling? You should be happy to see old friends reunite. Jiang Tian's expression was calm and even had a smile as he swept his gaze across the three of them calmly. However, Jiang Tian's calmness contained an endless chilling killing intent that was like a 10,000-year-old glacier, aloof, cold, and eternal, causing one's heart to palpitate. Chapter 1316. I was wondering who it was. So, it's Taoist Tai Chu. However, Yuan Zihua's panic only lasted for a moment. He quickly calmed down and even revealed a mocking expression. Kong Tai Chu, as the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances. You have to understand that this place is no longer your world. This is no longer your era. Now, Chen Liuhe is the leader of the Stellar Sky domain, and the Jade Pool experts are the masters. Patriarch Kuan-Ling was also full of mockery. If you know when to back down, then submit. Although you are extremely talented, you are definitely not a match for Chen Liuhe and the other Jade Pool experts. In fact, you are far from even City Lord Duanmu Ting. Patriarch Kuan-Ling had already formed his nascent soul and did not take Jiang Tian seriously at all. In his eyes, those below the nascent soul realm were ants. What was a golden core? They were just trash that could not withstand a single blow. So, he is Kong Tai Chu. How dare he come back? Doesn't he know that this is no longer his era? Patriarch Kuan-Ling is giving him too much face. Compared to City Lord Duanmu and Marshal Chen, Kong Tai Chu is only at the Golden Core realm. He is far from even the three nascent soul patriarchs. When they saw the arrival of the three ancestors, Shi Ruoxue, Diren, Guang Kuan, and the others on the Star-Plucking Pavilion's platform instantly seemed as if they had obtained an extremely great backer, and their courage increased greatly. Their eyes were above their heads, and they looked down upon Jiang Tian as if they were looking at ants. You want me to submit? The mockery on Jiang Tian's face was extremely intense. He let out a soft laugh and said calmly, "You're just a Jade Lake cultivator. In my eyes, you're nothing more than a chicken or pottery dog. It's a pity that you have no knowledge and actually betrayed me and Bai Zhe, worshipping them like gods. You are worse than dogs. How arrogant." He actually called the three patriarchs dogs. This is clearly not going to rest until one of them is dead. The entire place was shocked when they heard Jiang Tian's words. The sound of people inhaling cold air rose and fell. Everyone was greatly taken aback. Jiang Tian's words were too arrogant. This was because these three grand ancestors were no longer the same as before. They had reached the nascent soul stage after the ultimate sublimation. Things were different now. But Jiang Tian actually humiliated and scolded them so viciously. It was simply a slap to their faces. They were all proud and arrogant people, so how could they endure it? Sure enough, Yuan Zihua was furious and shouted, "Guys, why are you still talking nonsense with him? He's just an ant from Earth, a golden core cultivator. Just kill him." His true disciple, Yuan Hongjue, had been killed. This was a life and death grudge that he could not tolerate. He only wanted to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. Fellow Taoist Zihua, don't be anxious. Zen Master Bitter C pressed his palms together. He looked solemn and benevolent as he said sincerely, "Fellow Taoist Tai Chu, to tell you the truth, you're no longer qualified to be compared to us. In our eyes, you're like a 3-year-old baby, unable to withstand a single blow. We didn't kill you because we are virtuous and don't want to stir up another storm of blood and plunge all living beings into misery and suffering." He stood on the moral high ground and tried to persuade Jiang Tian, as if he were a living bodhisattva or an enlightened monk. "I'll advise you again. Put down your knife and become a Buddha. Don't ignore the righteousness of the common people for your own selfish interests and be blinded by the desire for power. You should know that this is just a dream, not worth mentioning. The body is a Bodhi tree, the heart is a mirror. Always wipe it clean and don't let it be stained with dust." Shameless! Jiang Tian was so angry that he was amused. There was gradually a cold, murderous intent deep in his eyes. Bitter C and the others were the kind of people who were extremely selfish and afraid of death. In order to save their lives and for their own interests, they didn't hesitate to attack their own race and the cultivators of planet Tianxing. They even didn't hesitate to poison their own teacher, Bai Zhe, and attack him together. Today, I've come here to kill all of you and settle a debt of gratitude and enmity. I'm not here to admit defeat. Do it. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold. He suddenly drank the wine in his cup and patted the sky-devouring demonic gourd on his waist with his right hand. A great battle was about to break out. Suddenly, Yuan Zihua and the other 3 nascent soul cultivators and Shun Lang were on full alert. Guang Kuan, do you think Kong Teichu or the 3 ancestral patriarchs and Shun Lang will win? On the platform of the Zhaixing Pavilion, Shi Ruoxue asked in a sweet voice. How can Kong Teichu be a match for them? Although Kong Teichu can use a secret technique to simulate the power of the forbidden area, it's still a technique to control the world and belongs to the category of golden core. Guang Kuan's face was full of mockery and disdain. The 3 ancestral patriarchs have already formed their nascent souls and are only 1 step away from the real nascent soul cultivator. They have also received guidance from the nascent soul cultivator in Jade Lake, and their cultivation techniques are stronger. If they fight to the end, they will definitely win. Guang Kuan was the sect leader of the Giant Sword sect. He was at level 3 of the Golden Core realm and was only 1 step away from the middle stage. He was not far from Yuan Hongjue and had a unique vision. No one doubted Guang Kuan's conclusion. The battle has begun. At this moment, Huangfu Pingtian suddenly screamed when he saw Jiang Tian patting the weapon-strengthening gourd. However, he didn't expect that the flying sword would be aimed at him. Run! They all jumped into the sky and ran in all directions. However, their screams stopped abruptly. A golden flying sword jumped out from the sky-devouring demonic gourd and turned into a shocking sword radiance. It shot through the sky and cut off the heads of the 8 golden core cultivators on the platform, including Guang Kuan and Zen Master Diren. The dazzling sword radiance swept across the sky and shone on the surrounding area. Corpses fell to the ground like raindrops. Except for Long Yanan, who was deliberately left behind by Jiang Tian, no one was able to escape. Before they died, their eyes were filled with deep shock and fear. They couldn't believe that Jiang Tian would kill them when he was besieged. They also couldn't believe that they would die under Jiang Tian's sword so easily. Kong Teichu. Seeing this, ancestral patriarch Kunling was in so much pain that he wanted to die. You've gone too far. Zen Master Kuhai gritted his teeth and looked like a King Kong. They had never thought that Jiang Tian would dare to kill so many people when he was besieged by 3 nascent soul cultivators. He even killed their children and descendants, which made them feel heartbroken. He was simply treating them like ants. I've already said that we can't be merciful to him. If we do something, we can still save them. Yuan Zihua said coldly. The Taichu Dominator is so cruel. Countless cultivators' eyes twitched and they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Jiang Tian was too decisive. He was resolute and decisive to the extreme. It was obvious that he wanted to kill them. Killing their descendants and children right under their noses made them so angry that their lungs were about to explode. This was a kind of torture and torture. No one could bear to watch their loved ones and children die on the spot. So cruel? Have you forgotten how many Stellar Sky Domain cultivators and mortals Kunling and the rest killed for the Jade Pool? Well done. Such a traitor, such a shameless person. He should die without descendants. However, Chen Feihong, Zhao Hongtian, and the other supporters of Jiang Tian shouted loudly and excitedly, cheering for Jiang Tian. You know pain too? I thought you didn't know. You seem to have forgotten how many Stellar Sky Domain cultivators lost their loved ones because of you. How many women and children are crying? I'm killing your descendants and descendants right in front of you. You can suffer as much as you want. What can you do to me? If you can't accept it, come and fight. This battle is to the death. Jiang Tian caught the flying sword that flew back. His eyes were full of mockery. He held the white jade wine cup and wine flask and gently knocked on the sword body, making clanging sounds. His battle intent was high, and his sword aura was dense. It was like a billowing essence smoke that shot into the 9 heavens. Back then, the 9 flying swords that Jiang Tian obtained from the Sword Tomb Island were all spirit artifacts. However, after many years of refining by Jiang Tian and adding many precious metals and rare stones, the 9 flying swords had been upgraded to spirit artifacts. Even so, they couldn't withstand Jiang Tian's vast spiritual power and could be easily destroyed. Thus, Jiang Tian had given all of them to Qina. This flying sword, nameless, was refined before he set off. He used countless natural treasures he had collected over the years to carve many Dao patterns and talisman arrays on it. It was indestructible and had reached the true artifact level. Kong Teichu, you have angered me. Yuan Zihua shouted angrily as the sword in his hand broke through the air. The battle finally erupted. There seemed to be a sharp flash of lightning in the sky. The sword aura was dense and the temperature within a 10-mile radius dropped rapidly. What a terrifying sword intent! It's close to a heavenly phenomenon attack. Seeing this, many people were shocked and their hearts trembled. Kill! Ancestral Patriarch Kunling shouted coldly. With a sweep of the giant sword, monstrous sword rays overlapped and formed a heavy sword screen. It was like a mountain that covered the sky and covered the sun. It slashed through the void, capable of splitting 1,000 zhang tall mountain and cutting off rivers and seas. Heis, patron, to think that you would be so stubborn. Even if you were to stir up a storm of blood and kill more, for the sake of the masses, this old monk can only kill viciously and purge the evil. Master Kuhai shook his head and sighed. The Buddhist aura around him was bright and dazzling as he slapped his right hand. Boom! His right hand instantly expanded to several hundred meters in size, shining with golden light. It was as if the Buddha Lord was pressing down with his 5-finger mountain, bringing with it an aura that could suppress everything. Not only did it want to crush Jiang Tian into powder, it even wanted to crush the wild wave city below Jiang Tian. Yuan Zihua had already entered the nascent soul level and was not far away from the nascent soul level. He was invincible. He was full of confidence. Both he and the other 2 ancestral patriarchs thought that he had a high chance of defeating Jiang Tian. But they had lived for a long time and had experienced countless battles. They were all experienced and astute. They were deeply aware of the principle that even a lion would use its full strength to hunt a rabbit. Moreover, they hated Jiang Tian to the extreme and were completely merciless. Thus, they attacked together from the very beginning, and their cooperation was extremely tacit. The 3 heavenly star overlords worked well together and their combined attack was already stronger than a normal nascent soul level attack. Besides, there was also Shen Lang, who had the bloodline of the 1,000-tailed black fox and a 7th-grade golden core. Then, Shen Lang, who was as powerful as them, also attacked. Chapter 13:17. Kong Teichu, how dare you humiliate me today? You must die. Shen Lang's eyes were black and cold, filled with deep hatred and resentment. He was surrounded by a black aura and his 1,000 tails swayed. They swept across the sky like dragons and dyed half of the sky black. Each of his tails could break the sky and a wisp of energy could kill a chi refinement cultivator. It was extremely terrifying. Ah! The Taichu Dominator is in danger this time. Yeah, 3 nascent soul cultivators and 1 golden core cultivator. Even Bai Zhe wouldn't be able to resist them. I heard that Kong Teichu was only a foundation establishment cultivator back then. Only 2 years have passed. No matter how strong he is, he can only reach the late stage of the foundation establishment level, right? Even if he has the power of a golden core cultivator or has formed a golden core, so what? Those are 3 nascent soul cultivators. Many cultivators wrung their hands and sighed. Taichu Dominator, let's retreat. You've already killed Yuan Hongjue, Hu Tsanghai and severely injured Shen Lang. This battle is enough for you to be proud of. Senior Taichu, let's take a step back. The difference in power between the 3 nascent soul cultivators is too great. Our chances of winning are slim. There's no need to rush. Let's gather the army and settle the score with them. Chen Feihong, Zhao Hongtian and many other cultivators on planet Tianxing sent messages to Jiang Tian with their immortal will. They didn't mean any harm and they didn't underestimate Jiang Tian. They were just worried that Jiang Tian would die. Jiang Tian was their last hope, and they couldn't allow anything to happen to him. On the battlefield, it wasn't shameful to retreat temporarily. The most important thing was to win in the end. They're just ants. How can they fight me? Jiang Tian was full of disdain. Even when he hadn't formed a chaotic golden core in the Thunderlock, he was able to crush the 4 nascent soul cultivators with the power of his divine body. But then, Jiang Tian had formed the chaotic divine disc, and his chaotic divine body had been formed. His power was more than 100 times stronger than before. When Jiang Tian faced the 4 nascent soul cultivators, he had to resort to tricks and take them by surprise. But now, facing a nascent soul cultivator, Jiang Tian was like looking at an ant. He could kill him with a flick of his finger. In front of everyone's shocked gazes, Jiang Tian poured a cup of Thunderfire wine into his cup, took half a sip, and then tossed the wine jug and cup into the air, waving his finger. Heaven-splitting dome. This time, Jiang Tian only used 1/10 of his strength. However, in the sky, it was as if a black bolt of lightning had struck, tearing the space apart and causing many spatial fragments to appear. The spatial tear started from Yuan Zihua and snaked towards Kunling, Kuhai, and Xinlang at an extremely fast speed. Sky Splitter was a spatial technique that belonged to a type of primal chaos energy. It was activated after Jiang Tian had condensed the primal chaos divine body. It could tear apart space and cut through everything. Even a nascent soul cultivator who controlled a forbidden zone might not be able to withstand it. Everyone watched in horror. With their Danshans as the center, the 4 of them were miserably torn apart by the spatial energy, and they transformed into numerous pieces of flesh, broken bones, and arrows of blood that interweaved and piled on each other, and they suffused the air in all sorts of strange shapes like abstract works of art. Ah! How is that possible? Even though Xinlang's body was broken, his blood chi was too strong and he hadn't died yet. He couldn't help but scream with fear and desperation in his eyes. They realized that they couldn't reform their broken bodies even if they performed supreme healing and creation arts. Only soul formation grand cultivators who had comprehended a domain and completely controlled the spatial energy could stop Jiang Tian's Sky Splitter, Dharma art, and divine power. In the next moment, the gold cores of the 4 men exploded uncontrollably, tearing their broken bodies into pieces and flying ash. At this instant, everyone was shocked to the extreme. Waves of shock rose in their hearts, and they couldn't believe what they had just heard. 3 nascent soul cultivators and a peak stage superior grade golden core cultivator had been killed by Jiang Tian, just like that. It was like a myth. Good wine. This is great. Then, the wine cup that had just been thrown fell to the ground. Jiang Tian caught it and poured it in the air. He sighed and said, "This is revenge for Mieyu, Jiang Haishan, and the other heroes who died for Tianqing. Heroes, rest in peace." In a blink, 100-mile radius around Yunzhong restaurant and the entire Wild Wave city became silent. Many cultivators and billions of mortals were making a sound. After a long time, a sect master, a veteran Foundation establishment cultivator, finally spat out 2 words with difficulty. "Heavenly Lord?" Then, thousands of cultivators around Yunzhong restaurant and millions of people in Wild Wave City looked up at the sky with excitement on their faces. At this moment, even the slowest person realized Jiang Tian's strength. He was apparently a nascent soul heavenly lord. "Ha, Kang Teichu, so what if you're a nascent soul cultivator? How dare you do this in Wild Wave City? You're courting death." But a cultivator from the Jade Lake world was hiding in the dark and snickered before he finished his sentence. Sure enough, in all directions of the Wild Wave City, huge steel dragons suddenly gushed out, soaring into the sky and dancing in the sky. Every single enormous dragon was 30 kilometers long, and they lay across the sky like enormous dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, causing them to be extremely terrifying. "What's that?" Countless cultivators of Tianqing were startled. But when they got closer, they found out. Those weren't steel dragons. They were an army of cultivators from the Jade Lake wearing hard armor and holding sharp weapons and Dharma artifacts. The cultivators of the Jade Lake were all above the Qi refinement level, and there were many foundation establishment cultivators. There were tens of thousands of them. Cold light shone on their armor and sword auras cracked the sky. The 10 generals at the front were even fiercer and had power above the golden core level. In front of the battle array, a peerless general in golden armor and a crimson cape rose to the sky like a dragon. His figure was tall and lofty, like a towering mountain, and he emitted a monstrous imposing aura that swept through the heavens and the earth, causing the entire Wild Wave city to violently tremble. Shockingly, he was a nascent soul expert as well. Duanmu Ting, Chen Hongtian and the other heavenly star cultivators were all startled. Chen Feihong was so scared that she almost fell to the ground. She couldn't control her true essence and her sleeves fluttered. All those years ago, during the Great Battle of Furious Wave City, Duanmu Ting had once blasted apart several top-notch heavenly star experts guarding the city with a single punch, and even Jiang Haishan wasn't a match for him. That peerless ferocious might and divine ability that penetrated the heavens and the earth caused one's heart to palpitate. Duanmu Ting was one of the best generals in the Jade Lake army. Rumor had it that he had defeated 10 Golden Core cultivators, and an army of tens of thousands of cultivators couldn't stop him when he was conquering the Kanglan world. Tai Chu, you're indeed talented and powerful. You can suppress 3 nascent soul cultivators and Shen Lang. I'm Duanmu Ting, the Marshal of the Left Army and the City Lord of Wild Wave City. Duanmu Ting's eyes glittered as he saluted and said with admiration, the deaths of Shen Lang, the 3 nascent soul overlords and many talents on the hero roll seemed to be nothing in his eyes. However, his voice was like a thunderous bell, shaking the heavens. Many foundation establishment cultivators below could not withstand it. Their bodies swayed and they almost vomited blood. Duanmu Ting stood proudly in the air as an incomparably terrifying true essence fluctuation emanated from his dantian. Like a raging storm, it swept out for dozens of miles and enveloped the entire Wild Wave city. It was as if 3 mountains and 5 peaks were pressing down. Many heavenly star cultivators felt as if their guts were being torn apart as their bodies swayed. Is this the power of a nascent soul cultivator? He seems to be 10 times more powerful than Yuan Zihua and the others. He's an experienced nascent soul cultivator. He's not far from the nascent soul level. He might even be a quasi-perfected cultivator. At that moment, countless people exclaimed. Zhao Hongtian and Qin Feihong's eyes glittered. Their bodies tightened and their Dharma powers surged crazily to protect their bodies and land on the ground. As for those below the foundation establishment level, many couldn't withstand it at all. They fell to the ground as if a heavy hammer had hit their chests. Duanmu Ting hadn't made a move yet. He only released a faint energy, which made the heavenly star cultivators unable to move. The sky had already been cleared. Only Jiang Tian stood proudly on the heavenly star cultivator's side. Good wine, good wine. Jiang Tian waved his hand and brought over the wine pot. He poured the Thunderfire wine, which was flickering with blue lightning, into the wine cup. He took a sip and smiled. Marshal Duanmu organized this gathering. The wine is not bad, the dishes are not bad, the beautiful cultivators are not bad, and the scenery is even better. I just don't know when you became the Lord of Wild Wave City. When did I agree? When did Emperor Ding Lai give you that title? My friend Tai Chu, you were also a peerless talent who swept across this world. Why are you so pedantic? You'll make all the heroes in the world laugh their heads off. Duanmu Ting let out a long laugh. His arrogance soared to the heavens as he spoke in a matter-of-fact manner. As the saying goes, the strong are the masters. The cultivators of Jade Lake are stronger than you, so we don't need your approval. We'll take this beautiful land if we say so. Ha, well said. Jiang Tian took a sip of the Thunderfire wine and smiled calmly. According to your fucking logic, it's only right that I destroy your Jade Lake and wipe out your entire family. Kong Teichu, don't think you're so great just because you killed some trash who just reached the nascent soul level. Duanmu Ting's face flashed with anger and he said coldly, there are a few nascent soul heavenly lords in the Jade Lake. Any heavenly lord can turn the world upside down and change the weather with a single thought. Killing you is as easy as killing a chicken. Don't make a mistake. Is that so? Then you can try. Jiang Tian smiled with high fighting spirit. He didn't take Duanmu Ting seriously at all. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.